The night sky fills the city, and the sound of crickets chirping is the only sound that echoes. Inside the house, someone keeps clicking the mouse incessantly. He has an action figure with generous and beautiful attributes of a female figure. The young man is playing and asks the healer to do something. The situation is tough and he needs help as soon as possible. His dedication and effort are so intense that the mouse might not survive. Even the keyboard is not spared. He is too immersed in the game, and he doesn't notice the bluish glow emanating from one of the keys. The virtual enemy he was facing was finally defeated, making him celebrate. The game congratulates him for the result, showing a victory message. His virtual buddies are also happy because they believe they belong to the best guild in that game. One of them thanks the leader, as they were the first to defeat that new boss. Another buddy thanks him as well, looking forward to the next day's mission. The low-level mage is grateful for being taken along, even though she wasn't very useful. Amid all those compliments, the boy feels happy to be recognized by his virtual friends. The truth is, he laments not being that popular in real life too. Soon, reality hits him like a brick to the head. He is in his dark room alone. That sense of accomplishment fades as he realizes that is not his real life. He is not dedicated to his studies, he is not tall, he is shy, smelly, has pimples, liver cirrhosis despite being a teetotaler, one leg longer than the other, and is almost blind. He also wishes he could be the center of attention, but it's a shame that in real life, he doesn't know how to level up. This makes him daydream several times throughout the day. All he wanted was to be a hero, with a body sculpted by hard work and recognized by his peers. But what he really wanted was to be pursued by beautiful women. So he imagines what it would feel like to be desired, and he wouldn't refuse any woman, for there would be enough nerd friends for everyone. That would definitely be a wonderful life to live. Distracted in his daydreams, he noticed someone was messaging him in the game. It's the new mage who joined the guild recently. Since they had already cleared the dungeon, he couldn't imagine the reason for her contact. She is suggesting they meet in real life, which left him quite excited. It didn't take long for excitement to be the only thing visible on his face. However, soon his happiness fades and he starts thinking about possible problems. It could be an old man wanting to molest him. This is definitely a repulsive scenario for him, but he recognizes that he shouldn't dwell only on the worst case scenarios. Besides, he has no money and doesn't look good, so it doesn't make sense for him to be a target. And if he really doesn't want to be alone for the rest of his life, he'll have to do something eventually. So they scheduled to meet on Saturday at the city park. This made him so anxious that his shout echoed audibly through the night. The noise was so loud that a neighbor woke up and yelled at him as it was already late at night. The days passed and Saturday arrived. The little yellow alarm clock rang incessantly. With the noise, the boy wakes up and turns off the clock. Properly dressed, he takes the first step outside his house. Spring makes the trees look so beautiful around the area. He had finally arrived at the agreed place, the city park. He just needed to cross the street, moistening his fingertips with his tongue. He adjusted his bangs in an improvised way. He even gave a final touch to the bouquet of flowers he was holding. His bow tie is perfectly symmetrical. Despite feeling anxious, he hopes that from now on he will become a new man. The pedestrian signal started beeping. He can't describe what he feels, whether it's anxiety or nervousness, but he knows that the closer he gets, the faster his heart beats. This reminded him of the times he was bullied at school. He wanted to be brave, but he also wanted to run. The sun is shining beautifully, and the trees are blossoming. He hopes the date will be just like in his dreams. Trying to be realistic, he accepts that he should already be happy just for having the opportunity. But as he thought, he got distracted by the signal, and as he started crossing, it was already red. However, he did notice this. Taking his passionate steps across the street, he fails to see what's happening around him. Some people even start shouting, trying to warn him. A truck driver initiates a sudden brake. The rubber of the tires is pushed to the limit to maintain the stop. The truck driver tries to honk while his vehicle continues to advance dangerously across the crosswalk. Everything happened too fast, and the collision was inevitable. The sound of plastic breaking and bones shattering filled the air. Several meters away from the vehicle, his body lay motionless. Someone approached in shock, trying to provide some help, but the extent of the injuries was irreversible. People started gathering and someone tried to call for help. The harsh scene brought that small part of the city to a standstill. There was nothing else he could perceive, only a sudden calm. It was as if time had stopped. But he knew that everything he had dreamed of was now gone. Besides being good at games, he hadn't done anything remarkable in life, nothing he could be proud of. Fatigue was now all he felt flooding his being. After the darkness came a light and an image from the system. He didn't know what was happening or what he had logged into. He asked what voice that was, but it said it was his system, and thought he had already figured things out by now. But all he knew was that he had been hit by a truck, and it said that's why he was reincarnating. He imagined he was dreaming, and the system said it needed to finish talking, which made him start shouting, thinking it was a dream, trying to wake up. The system finally said it was fed up. Continuing, it said he had reincarnated into a new world and that he should accept it, and he wanted to know if he could refuse. But the system said that if he completed all the missions, he could reincarnate back into his original world, and he said he would do it immediately. It told him not to rush as it wouldn't be over in a day or two, and that he needed to get used to his new body. The boy noticed his hands were missing. Saying there was a puddle of water in front of him and asked him to look at it, as an image is worth 1,000 words. Trying to move, he noticed he was hopping. The water was as clear as a mirror. Scattered across the ground, there were several snails. Finally, the boy saw his reflection. It gave him an enormous emotional shock. He was taking time to process it, but he had become a mushroom. After seeing himself, he hopped away. He couldn't understand why he had become a mushroom. The snails looked at him suspiciously. Looking at them in terror, he wanted to believe that all of this was just a dream. Those snails were too strange, and they were chewing grass like ruminants. The only sound there was the sound of chewing. The chewing became a cruel mantra. They chewed and chewed the grass non-stop, a disturbing and haunting sound in that new world. The little mushroom was too frightened. After that impression, the system welcomed him to brave mainland. But it was too much, and he seemed to be in shock. Trying to console him, the system said it was indeed hard to accept everything that was happening, but there was no time to lose. The game had begun, and it was going to place the information directly into his mind. He couldn't understand anything. But now a whirlwind of information was flooding into him. That land was full of magic and wonders, with various regions, and it was known as Brave Mainland. In ancient times, monsters and humans cooperated. The latter were responsible for manual labor, and humans gifted with magic helped monsters live and prosper. In those days, learning was mutual. Until one day, things changed. The demon lord Golem broke the peace and started attacking humans, attracting several monsters to his cause as they believed themselves superior. This also united humans under banners. Following the king's orders, it began to subjugate the monsters. Legends say that the 6 most powerful ones united to seal Golem, but because he was so powerful, his body was separated into 6 pieces and placed in different locations. Thus, they were scattered randomly across the land. One of them is the Castle of Time. Another is the Pentachrome of the Desert, the Sunken World, the Stormy Pastures, the Source of the Volcano, and lastly, the Land of the Dead. After all this, the monsters and humans could not return to their previous state, and even with Golem sealing, some of his followers still roamed freely. They constantly brought destruction to the land, trying to bring Golem back to life. That's why he was reincarnated, to prevent Lord Golem from returning and destroying the land. Golem's followers had already begun preparations to break his seals. Time was running out. After the explanation, the system wanted to know if the player had any questions. He wanted to confirm if by preventing Golem's return, he would be able to go back to his world. And once again, the system confirmed it. This only made him more upset, as he wasn't one of the 6 most powerful. He was just a mushroom. Hopping in anger, he ended up slipping. The feeling of imbalance ran through his body. His mushroom body had fallen to the ground. The system asked him to wait and get used to the body, but it hoped he would learn quickly, because his first mission was about to begin. The boy made a tremendous effort to stand up. That only ended up leaving him exhausted. He complained to the system, saying that he could at least be a creature with limbs, but instead, he became a mushroom. Using all his strength, he tried to get up again. But he fell again and was already feeling hopeless about achieving anything if he couldn't even stand up. The system said the game would continue, whether the player was prepared or not. His first mission was to survive, and the reward would be either body toughness or limbs. Time began to count down, 3 seconds remaining, and the snails started fleeing. One of them hid in a bush. Another climbed a tree vine. The boy remained lying on the ground. The mission started. He had 59 minutes to survive, and the system said they were coming. A portal began to glow from within. Terrified, the boy wondered who these people arriving were. A vortex formed inside the portal. The countdown finally reached 0. It was soon possible to see a boot stepping out of it. A crowd of children entered, seeking destruction, as they wanted to complete the requirements to change classes and become brave. His small body started trembling with fear. The terror made him manage to get out of there, hopping a few times. Hiding behind the tree, he imagined that if they came there to kill monsters, he was in danger. A little boy wielded his stick, which granted him an additional attack point. With one strike, he sent a small snail flying. Grabbing the clawless-lined stick from his hand was worth it, as he managed to defeat a red snail in a single blow. Another boy removed the snail from its shell. Its shell trembled on the ground. Crushing one with a rock, the boy said it was better than his friend's stick. A green snail tried to escape that carnage. It tried to use all the speed it had, but it ended up being caught by a hand. It looked back in terror. A sweet girl asked if it would be her companion when she became a beast tamer. Filled with hope, it let a smile escape. But she needed ingredients to change classes first. The snail was gutted alive by the girl. She stored its shell. Only 9 more were needed. That was a common storage pot with a capacity for 10 items. The mushroom watched all that, realizing that from the monster's perspective, humans were the true monsters. Unexpectedly, something happened in the garden. A boy was thrown against a rock. That blow ended his life. He was immediately teleported to the beginner's village. He lost his stick, as well as 100 experience points. The other children looked at when it happened. That was a level 3 Papa Snail, riding a skateboard and having little patience with troublemakers. This one was different from the others, and the mushroom wondered why he could see its information and level. The system said that was his evaluation ability, and to understand it better, he should check his own status. That shell was one of the rarest for this task, and all the children wanted it. They wanted to kill it together and then decide who would keep the shell. But the children were unable to subdue it. One by one, they were defeated. Little by little, they disappeared, until the last of the weak ones fell to the ground. One of them remained behind and thanked the newcomers for weakening it, as now he would kill it. But the Papa Snail was furious beyond measure. That level 4 student sought revenge ever since he lost to the snail. The Papa Snail charged into battle with all its might. They were about to clash violently. Taking the opportunity, it bit the boy's foot. Its bite was fierce and impactful, but the boy merely shook his wild boar leather boots, which increased his defense by 5 points. The boy had prepared for 2 months, and the snail was without its skateboard, its speed weapon, and now with his sword, he was unbeatable for it. Tired, the snail spat but remained resolute. The mushroom knew that monster did it to protect its family, so he began cheering out loud for the Papa Snail. But it was to no avail. It was already dead. It was difficult but expected, since it was the rarest ingredient. He finally obtained the Papa Snail's shell. That gave the boy 20 experience points. With that item, he could finally become a knight. In the face of all this, the mushroom trembled with fear. He had no hope of surviving and hoped someone would save him. A boy advanced cautiously through the forest. He heard something in those bushes, and it could be a family of snails. He gently parted the bushes with his hands. What they found there wasn't a snail, but rather a mushroom. They screamed in terror at their discovery. The mushroom was also terrified for having been found. It was his end. He was sure they would kill him. But the boys immediately fled, warning the others that there was a monster mushroom there. So he wondered if they were really afraid of him. The system confirmed it and instructed him to check his own attributes. Deciding to give it a chance, he commanded the attribute panel to open. He was a level 5 mushroom with a resurrection coin, 36 health, 22 mana, and he was a monster. Being level 5, he was the most powerful being there. because the strongest after him was a level 4 boy. A bit more enthusiastic, he wanted to see what abilities he had. He had 2, Appraisal and Mushroom Charge. Appraisal was what allowed him to see others' information, so the charge must be an attack since it didn't consume mana. Even though they were basic abilities, it gave them a chance to completely dominate the beginner's village. He thought he was playing on an impossible difficulty level, but now he believed everything would be easy. With the roles reversed, he began searching for his victims. He spotted some children killing snails. It was time for them to witness his power. Determined, he executed his attack ability. He managed to hit 2 of the children. This made them collapse unconscious on the ground. The boy and the girl vanished from the area. The mushroom not only found it easy, but he also gained 5 experience points for each of them. But the other boy appeared, wondering what had happened. The mushroom turned to him maliciously. This wasn't the time for mushroom monsters. The boy was terrified. He climbed up a vine to try and escape. Fearful, he climbed the rope as high as he could. A monster of such a high level wasn't supposed to be there. Looking up, the mushroom didn't believe the height would protect the boy. Concentrating his strength, he jumped. His head managed to hit the vine. He tried again, only hitting the vine. This time, he attempted to grab it with his teeth. Not having hands was complicated, and it seemed he would have to wait for the boy to come down. He moved away from the platform, hopping. Then he entered the forest bushes. He continued hopping, searching for more targets. But a rock was thrown at him. It hit his head directly. Not only did he feel the pain of the impact, but he also lost 2 health points. Now he wanted to know who the reckless one was who had attacked the king of the forest. The boy had gathered with his friends. The strongest among them was at level 3. The boy called his friends, which could give him more experience, but it was also much more dangerous. He firmly leaped on the ground. That mushroom wasn't a common mushroom. In front of the boys, he executed his move. The mushroom charge was now underway. The shield of the chubby boy granted 8 defense points, and he managed to withstand the attack. But his shield broke, and he asked his friends to form a formation. The boy with the glasses and the girl would go on one side, and the one with the helmet on the other. The 2 began running away. Meanwhile, the boy with the helmet threw another rock at the mushroom. It was a critical hit, taking away 4 health points. Feeling that pain, he was determined not to forgive them. On the other side, more rocks were being prepared. The boy with glasses and the girl threw a barrage of stones. This strategy was also used by the boy with the helmet. Those rocks began hitting the mushroom. That was definitely hurting him. Each stone took away 2 health points, and his attack was still recharging. As soon as the cooldown ended, he attacked them once again. The chubby boy grabbed another shield. The mushroom was close to hitting them, but the chubby boy managed to protect them at the last moment. Wielding a sword, the boy with glasses charged for the attack. The other friends cheered for him to defeat the monster, but the mushroom managed to dodge the attack. Even though he was slashed on the tip of his head, it was an intense and excruciating pain. The strength of the weak united can overpower the strong. He had seen this before when he played with his friends. The tanks absorb the damage while the others attack. If he doesn't attack them all at once, he will end up perishing. He was surrounded and the children were oppressing him. With almost no health left, he began vomiting from the pain. Finally, he collapsed to the ground after so much beating. He was on the verge of losing consciousness. The children gathered, checking if he was truly defeated. Then they started celebrating for having defeated a monster mushroom. However, the girl noticed that she had received any experience points yet and asked if her friends had. The mushroom pretended to be dead on purpose to have them all within his reach. Enraged, he began his counterattack. That gave him enough experience to level up. With the children defeated, his body began to glow. Now he had 47 health and 30 mana points. All the pain and injuries he had vanished with the level up. He felt wonderful and powerful, but being invincible was far too lonely. He was confident that if he stayed there, he could level up to the maximum level and complete all the missions. While he was daydreaming about the future, a lightning bolt struck beside him. He was almost hit, even though the sky was clear and bright. He finally realized what was happening. The adventurer said that the mage had recently changed classes, and even so, he managed to miss the attack. He was level 18. The mission mentioned a monster causing chaos among the novices, but it was just a mushroom. The level 17 archer didn't care, she just wanted to finish this quickly and get a reward. The level 12 warrior said it was nostalgic to return there with his 2 seniors. That level gap meant only one thing to him: death. The mage conjured a ball of lightning in one of his hands. He hurled the projectile toward the mushroom. Faced with the imminent impact, the mushroom was terrified. He barely dodged the full attack, but the top of his head was burned. It passed through the bushes, destroying them. That was enough to take away 14 health points. Magic-using players weren't supposed to be in a beginner's area. Behind him, he could see that the energy ball had even destroyed the wood of the trees. He had no chance against this group. The best he could do was flee. Concentrating all his strength, he planned to use his charge as a means of escape. He leaped far away from his attackers. His behavior surprised the players as the monster knew when it needed to flee. The warrior told the others not to worry because he would handle it. He had recently learned a new ability and wanted to test it on the mushroom. Using his axe, he made a slash in the ground that extended toward the monster. Then a large block of earth emerged suddenly, blocking the mushroom's escape. He hit head-on, losing 10 health points in the process. The system warned him that his health had dropped below half and that he needed to be cautious. The impact's force caused him to spin in the air. In the distance, the archer prepared a single shot to end the creature's life. With him in her sights, she fired her arrow. It hit the mushroom precisely. That piercing attack caused him to lose another 23 health points. With that, he had no more health points left. The arrow that struck him went through, destroying the earthen wall that was there. His body fell to the ground, unresponsive. The system informed him that this was the end of the game. His body kept bouncing from the impact, until it lost its momentum and remained still. The warrior praised his friend's precision, saying that she would soon be recruited by the Archers Guild. She felt flattered by the compliment and said that if she were sincerely invited, she would accept the offer. The mage told them to stop the idle chat and collect the mushroom's body to receive their reward. The system wanted to know if he intended to use his resurrection coin. To continue living, he had no other choice to make. His body began to glow once again. He learned a new ability, Spore Explosion. Besides, his health was fully restored. As soon as they approached, he released the cloud of spores. The cloud was immense, covering a large part of the area. The mage hadn't imagined a mushroom could have that ability, as he had never seen it before. From within the fog, he used his charge again, but his movement was detected by the archer. She immediately alerted the others that the monster was trying to escape. They quickly moved to prevent his escape. The mushroom continued hopping to flee from his attackers, but the distance between them was closing. He needed to think of something immediately. So he asked the system how much time was left to complete the first mission. There were a little over 3 minutes remaining. He needed to stay alive until then for the mission rewards to help him survive. Once again, a lightning bolt began to descend from the sky. The impact was too close, and he wondered if his pursuers had already reached him. His dodge caused him to slide along the ground. He just wanted to understand how he had been caught so quickly, even after blocking their vision. He finally noticed there was a mark above his head. It was the hunter's tracking ability. The archer's skill, which had been placed on her arrow. The stronger the archer, the better the tracking and duration. He didn't know how he was still alive, but after being hit by her, he wouldn't be able to escape. The warrior charged forward, hoping to finish off the mushroom quickly. Reacting in time, the mushroom avoided the worst outcome. But his dodge was clumsy, and he lost his balance. He'd already used his resurrection coin. He couldn't die again. While leaning against the tree, more attacks approached. Wind blades sliced through the wood effortlessly. The mushroom was injured, losing 18 health points. He definitely didn't want to die that way, so he used his spore cloud once more. The mist covered them again, obscuring their vision. But the archer told him that this strategy was useless. She could still see the mark and prepared her arrow. Once marked, she could hit him even with her eyes closed. Her hand relaxed, and the arrow was released from the bow. It violently passed through the trees, destroying them until it reached the mushroom. Once again, he had been hit by her. This time, he lost 28 health points. In critical condition, his speed was reduced by 80%, and he could no longer consume stamina as he couldn't recover. The players approached the fallen mushroom. A countdown was ticking down. It was a special monster since it had managed to use its abilities to hide. Even so, it wasn't enough. The mage prepared to deliver a fatal blow, and the countdown reached 1 second. The mission had been completed, as the time had run out. In the forest, some birds suddenly flew away in fright. The archer said their time was up. The mage mentioned that he hadn't been there for so long that he had forgotten. Hearing this, the warrior wanted to know what was happening. A large teleportation circle appeared above their heads. The mage screamed desperately for his companions to run away. A small mushroom began emerging from the circle. Soon, other mushrooms started to appear as well. It was almost completely out. The sky was then filled with the descent of those creatures. Countless of them were falling from the sky. The warrior didn't want to flee and thought the mage was spouting nonsense. Using his axe, he managed to take down some of them. He couldn't miss out on all those experience points falling like gifts from the sky. He used one of his abilities, and with its reach, he managed to kill even more mushrooms. Their bodies started to spread across the forest floor. It was like an all-you-can-eat buffet of experience. The mage told him he was foolish and didn't understand the waves of creatures in that place. They needed to leave immediately. The warrior called the mage a coward, saying he was gaining experience too, and if the mage wanted to leave, he could go. The archer mentioned that there was an enchantment in this village and that he wouldn't die there, so they could relax. They abandoned him, saying that if anything happened to him, it was entirely his responsibility. Watching them flee, he called them idiots for passing up such an opportunity, since he would never lose to such weak monsters. But from the portal, a massive mushroom began to emerge. The warrior believed it would just be a large number of those useless ones. However, he quickly realized the shadow of the figure that appeared. It was definitely much larger than he was. That mushroom had a large mustache on its face. It was also dressed in a royal cape. It was the level 60 Mushroom King, appearing every 7 days in search of a long-lost mushroom secret. The warrior screamed in despair as there was nothing he could do. Then the Mushroom King fell upon him, crushing him. There, he began interacting with the other mushrooms. That warrior was no longer alive. His body was teleported back to the village. This death caused him to lose all the experience of the past few days, but the other two just wanted to escape quickly, as they also couldn't do anything against the Mushroom King. He looked at his tiny subjects. Injured and exhausted, he thought that those monsters appeared because of him. The king prepared to draw his sword. Pointing it upwards, he rallied the small ones. They all started jumping as if in response to his speech. The small mushrooms celebrated. The king was also jumping with them. The vision of the main mushroom began to grow weaker and blurrier. He didn't want to be ignored. He was also a mushroom and wanted their help. Before he could lose consciousness, a pig appeared. All he wanted now was to be helped. The campfire burned calmly, illuminating the place softly. It seemed to be in a covered area, like a cave. He weakly opened his eyes. Finally, he was awake after everything that had happened. He hadn't died, but he had no idea where he could be. However, he soon noticed that there were pieces of mushroom all over the place. Not far from there, an animal was chewing on something. He immediately thought that this pig had killed all those mushrooms. The beast continued its meal. Suddenly, it turned around to his horror. Terrified, he averted his gaze to avoid attracting the creature's attention. With that, the pig went back to munching on whatever it was devouring. Maybe he had been dragged there so the pig could consume him later. He needed to escape while the animal was distracted. But as he tried to get up, he noticed something. He was missing the lower part of his body. It must have been the pig's doing. It had eaten him. The pig started approaching him. Its tail wagged excitedly at the situation. Knowing it was approaching, he thought about pretending to be dead so he could try to escape another time. Finally, the creature had arrived. He closed his eyes to avoid seeing the worst. The pig was there, staring at him intently. Its mouth started moving closer. The mushroom couldn't stop trembling, but instead of attacking, the pig regurgitated a bit of what it had eaten. The chewed-up mass landed on the mushroom's wounds. Immediately, his health began to recover. He wondered if those pieces of the bodies had been placed there to help him heal. As the pig moved away, he kept his eyes shut. The pig nudged the mushroom's head gently with its snout. It seemed the pig was showing affection for him. The pig was definitely caring for the mushroom. After that, it lay down next to him, though he still refused to open his eyes. Eventually, the pig fell asleep beside him. A small opening in the ceiling allowed moonlight to filter in. The pig woke from its slumber, alert to its surroundings. The mushroom was no longer by its side. Realizing this, it began sniffing the air. It looked into the cave, disheartened, but it found the scent trail. Trusting its instincts, it followed the trail for the cave. As it advanced, it remembered something. This made it rush back along its path. It hurriedly moved its little feet. All of this was done to put out the campfire. The flames had now been extinguished. The mushroom did everything it could to continue its escape. If it had to die, it would rather fall to a boss's hands than a pig's mouth. As it fled, the ground trembled and it wondered if it was an earthquake. Looking back, it realized it was something worse. The pig was chasing after him relentlessly. The sight made him panic, unsure how to defend himself. It was getting closer and closer. No matter how hard he tried, he knew he wouldn't be able to outrun the pig. As a last resort, he used his spore explosion to obscure its vision. Faced with the spore cloud, the pig paused. The scene seemed to make it even happier. Patiently, it flared its nostrils. Then it started inhaling all the spores from the air. In a few seconds, the spores were gone, and the mushroom could be seen fleeing. That was definitely what it had wanted to find. As he fled, the mushroom was terrified again, fearing he would be eaten. He ran as fast as he could from the love-struck pig. Having no other options, he called for help from the system. The system responded promptly. What he wanted to know now was if his previous mission had been completed. It had, and the system asked if he wanted to claim his reward. Knowing this, he said he wanted to receive it as soon as possible. To do so, he needed to choose between the rewards: toughness or limbs. This left him uncertain about which would be more useful. Having limbs would be very interesting. With them, he could attack the pig more effectively, and it would be more efficient if he wanted to run away. Having limbs would be more useful, as he would have a wider range of movements. The system asked if he had made his choice. Decided, he said he wanted limbs. His body began to glow. Protrusions started to form on his sides. Soon he had 2 small arms. The same process began at the bottom. His eyes continued to glow. His transformation was complete. Now he had a pair of feet to stand on, and tiny arms around his body. This was the moment to use them and keep running. But with his tiny legs, he could barely run. His speed was pitiful. Those little bumps shouldn't even be called limbs. Still, he continued his escape, terrified, unsure of what he had done to anger the pig. She sped up toward him. Getting closer, she leaped excitedly. With her little hooves, she managed to grab hold of the mushroom, causing both of them to roll on the ground. The creature planted its feet on the ground. Beside her, the mushroom lay there, unresponsive. With the chase over, the piglet licked him gently. Overwhelmed with fear, he only wished she would end it quickly as an act of mercy. The caring piglet licked him incessantly. He opened his eyes and used his appraisal ability. The process to learn more about the creature began. At level 10 and with 50 attack points, she could go into a frenzy if she became too hungry. Seeing her stats, he asked the system to show his attributes. At level 6, he was significantly weaker than her. His appraisal ability had improved, but the gap between them was too great, and he couldn't imagine being able to get away from her. The piglet seemed to hear something. She then started staring intently at the cave's exit. Her posture indicated that something suspicious was happening. Focusing, her nostrils picked up a scent. She immediately realized what was going on. She began circling as if trying to communicate something to the mushroom. Not knowing what was happening, he thought that if she wasn't going to eat him, he would leave now. Suddenly, pieces of the cave began to fall. The entire structure started to shake violently. It could only be an earthquake. Outside, some creatures were in a crater. They moved with incredible speed. Their agility was so great that they were hard to see. The force of their steps caused the entire structure to tremble. A stalactite began to shake excessively. Its tip broke off, falling toward the ground. This happened with several others, making them extremely dangerous. The piglet headed for the exit, and the mushroom followed. He didn't want to be left behind and begged the pig to wait for him, terrified of being hit by a falling rock. His plea touched her deeply. The piglet changed direction, willing to help the mushroom. She ran to reach him. Nimbly, she dodged a falling stalactite. The impact on the ground was strong. If it had hit her, it would have been serious. But her agility was simply admirable. Her determination allowed her to reach the mushroom. Approaching him, she nudged him with the tip of her snout. With a single movement, she tossed him up. Now he was on her back as if he had a mount. With his new appendages, he tried to hold on as best as he could. Her speed was almost too much for him to keep his grip. Effortlessly, the piglet avoided all the obstacles while the mushroom struggled to keep himself from getting sick. The exit was in front of them, getting closer and closer. She gave one final push with her legs. Her powerful leap allowed them to escape before the exit was buried by rocks. If they had taken any longer, it would have been trapped inside. Finally, she landed on the ground outside. Both were safe, but the mushroom was out of breath. Where the entrance to that part of the cave once was, there were now only rocks and a cloud of dust in the air. Above, the peculiar figures gathered. They were also pigs, like her. Curious, the mushroom wanted to know if they were friends of his mount. Wild boars, level 18, powerful and aggressive, but they preferred to flee when faced with a greater threat. One of them stomped the ground with its hoof. The others formed a corridor with a bonfire at the center. The fire burned atop the head of the one who seemed to be the leader. Faced with this, they stared at each other intently. The mushroom could tell that this monster was level 35, but his analysis ability was still too low to get more information about it. After a brief standoff, the piglet turned her back on the boars. One of them was outraged by this behavior, but the leader let out an intimidating grunt. The other boar understood that he shouldn't do anything. They merely watched from above as she walked away. Following a path separate from her herd, the mushroom and the piglet had no idea what awaited them on this adventure. In the cave, she attended to his wounds, and now she had saved him from the cave. The piglet didn't seem to have any hostile intentions toward him. She continued sniffing the ground. Her snout searched for something. Calmly and attentively, they advanced through the meadows. He asked the system where they were. They were in Crescent Bay, east of the Tempest Grasslands, 200 kilometers from the starting village. That was definitely a generous distance, but the mushroom had no idea how he had ended up there. Perhaps the pig had used a teleportation ability when he lost consciousness. Something happened that put the piglet on high alert. A sticky, slimy mass rose into the air. It quickly moved toward them, but the piglet managed to dodge. Once again, she evaded, and the mushroom remained steady on her back. She was truly agile, and those attacks posed no threat. But she couldn't keep dodging forever. The hostile creature that tried to strike them retreated back to its hiding spot. The prairie returned to its calm state. There was danger on all sides, and the mushroom was fortunate that the piglet was always on high alert. And indeed, she was scanning the surroundings and scents. From within the grass, the monster that attacked them began to reveal itself. It was an enormous toad trying to devour them. Its size frightened the mushroom, who immediately used his appraisal ability. Bull toad, level 11, voracious and needs to eat the equivalent of his weight every day, preferring prey it can swallow in a single gulp. With its position revealed, it locked eyes with the piglet and the mushroom. They stared at each other briefly after that first encounter. Once again, it tried to catch the piglet with its sticky tongue, but she dodged with ease. Unfortunately, the mushroom wasn't as lucky and was captured, which made him scream for help. She noticed her companion was in trouble. This filled her with rage at what the toad had done. She charged furiously toward it. The toad prepared to swallow the mushroom, while the piglet advanced fiercely. As its tongue retracted, it could only focus on the prey it had already captured. It was getting closer to swallowing him whole. But beneath it, the piglet was making her move. Desperate, the mushroom considered using his spore explosion as a defense. However, the piglet's hooves were ready. With a powerful charge, she struck the toad, and it felt the impact. The pain caused its tongue to release the mushroom. He safely landed on the piglet's back, who was now very happy. This time, he was genuinely grateful for being saved by her once again. However, they were still not safe, and a slicing attack was approaching them. Sensing the danger, she jumped to avoid being hit. Looking back, they realized what they had narrowly escaped. The toad had been sliced entirely by that attack. Its pieces fell onto the prairie floor. Footsteps echoed, and they resembled those of an arthropod. The mushroom knew there was a more dangerous monster than the toad around. Near the toad's carcass, there was something similar to a praying mantis. It plunged one of its blades into the toad's flesh. Tearing off a piece, it began eating its prey right there. This was a blade mantis, level 19, the strongest of its kind, and could cut through steel. Its defense and health points weren't impressive, but its attack was far too dangerous, boasting 280 points. While it ate, it wasn't entirely distracted and noticed there were more creatures nearby. With just the toad, it was already difficult. With this level 19 creature, acting rashly would mean they wouldn't make it out alive. The mantis calmly ate the piece of toad it held. Slowly, it sheathed its blade. The monster did this with the patience of a professional. Ready to attack, it widened the distance between its legs. Its stance was offensive, and its eyes were fixed on the piglet and the mushroom. If they were hit, it would be the end. The pig needed to be extremely cautious now. However, before it could act, a rock was thrown high into the sky. It flew high, distracting the mantis. As everything that goes up must eventually come down, the rock fell to the ground. They watched in surprise at what had just happened. That boulder seemed to have acted deliberately. What was left of the mantis lay beneath it. Its body was slowly absorbed, until nothing was left of it there. An opening slowly formed on the boulder, revealing a sinister-colored eye. It stood there, motionless in front of them. It was a boulder mushroom, level 26. They mimic rocks until their prey is close enough, posting good defense but being slow. The mushroom advised the piglet to back away slowly until they were no longer in the creature's line of sight. She followed his advice, moving slowly backward. The boulder remained still in the grass. Then it decided to return to hiding, transforming back into just another lone rock amidst the landscape. Continuing their journey, and the mushroom was reaching his limit. The piglet pushed him up the hill, but she was also exhausted. They walked a little further despite this. When they reached the nearest shade, they lay down on the grass, worn out. The piglet caught her breath while watching a dandelion. There were many of them around as she began observing them. This caused her to be momentarily distracted by their beauty. However, the mushroom wanted to know if it was safe to stay in that spot. Something catches his attention. The place is vast, the plain stretches to the sea, and there are enormous creatures flying in the sky. This world can be very dangerous, but it's beautiful in equal measure. While he was daydreaming, the system screen appeared in front of him. It informed him that this world resembles his own, with natural laws and its own ecosystem, and he imagined himself at the lowest part of the food chain. If it weren't for the piglet, he would already be dead, but he didn't want to give up. He planned to become stronger and one day return to his original world. With this in mind, he called for the system, which responded promptly. He asked for another mission to receive more rewards. There were 3 difficulty levels, easy, medium, and hard. It was up to him to choose. Fortune favors the bold, so he decided to check the hard mission. He would have to defeat one of the divine generals of the Storm Grass King. That was definitely beyond his reach. So he opted for the easiest mission instead. He needed to collect 10 red berries, which would earn him 50 experience points. When eaten, they would restore a bit of health and reduce hunger. He thought this would be very easy, so he called the piglet to go with him. The little mushroom started running through the grass. He began his search for those small fruits. Soon enough, he found a small cluster of them. Additionally, there were many more like those in that area. The mission was definitely easy. Before long, he had collected 6 of the 10 berries. The piglet was quick and managed to pick a few more as well. But the mushroom noticed something strange and became confused. His mission progress had dropped to 4 berries. Hungry, she had started eating the berries he had collected. She had simply eaten them all. Furious, he scolded the piglet for eating all the items he needed to complete the mission. Enraged, he was determined to show her who was really in charge. He swung his hand swiftly toward the piglet, but his insignificant blow was absorbed by her and she didn't even notice it was an attack. She continued eating the berries calmly. Adjusting her position, she accidentally bumped into the mushroom, sending him flying. Feeling she had bumped into something, she looked back. Then she wagged her tail, happy to be with a mushroom. He was terrified, thinking she intended to attack him and retaliate. In the end, she tossed him playfully into the air, thinking it was a game. Now he had a new mission, to collect 30 fruits to earn 70 experience points and an inventory box. Next, he needed to catch 15 fish to earn 80 experience points, using his spores to make the task easier. Then he collected 20 mineral stones to gain 100 experience points. Time passed as he completed these missions and the day moved on. Eventually, he reached level 9 with 75 health points and 39 attack points. The piglet ate everything he gathered, and despite working hard, he only gained 3 levels. Exhausted, he thought about resting as well. Snoring, she dreamt of all the things she had eaten. Taking advantage of the opportunity, he decided to take on one more easy mission while the pig was sleeping. He needed to absorb all the items he had collected to earn 200 experience points and an exclusive skill. Another mission offering a special reward. Absorbing everything he had collected was the easiest mission of the day. He opened his inventory to retrieve what he still had stored. With that, a pile of food appeared. The smell of it reached the piglet's nose. This made her wake up immediately, wagging her tail in happiness. The mushroom told her she had already eaten plenty in the morning, and that this was his. Upon hearing his refusal, she looked disheartened. Just as he was about to eat the fruit, he glanced at her out of the corner of his eye. Feeling pity, he threw her the fruit he was about to eat. She had definitely been sad, but that small gesture lifted her mood. She danced with joy for receiving that fruit. Since he got a few extra items, he decided to give her the excess, but he asked her to eat sparingly because he didn't plan to give her more once she finished eating. Sitting under the tree's shade, they both ate. Taking a bite of the stone, he ended up fracturing one of his teeth. The truth was, he had no idea how to eat that stone, so he asked the system how he should do it. Reviewing the mission status, he realized he hadn't absorbed anything yet. This made him question if the system was tracking it correctly, as he had already eaten 5 berries in total. The system hinted that he should carefully consider what the mission was asking him to do. It was to absorb, not just eat the fruits. Finally, he realized that the absorption process might be different. That large mushroom from earlier had absorbed the mantis by sitting on it. Looking at his own underside, he wondered if he would have to do the same to absorb the items. Finally, the moon rose into the sky full of stars. Scattered on the ground were the items he needed to absorb. He sits on the fish. Immediately, his backside begins the absorption process. His mission was finally completed. The feeling of eating in this way is truly mysterious, to say the least. With this, he had enough experience to level up once again. He is now level 10 and has learned the decomposition skill. If mushrooms belong to nature's decomposers, he wonders what this skill is for. The decomposed matter is used to nourish the player. He can do this with monsters up to level 20 and inorganic matter. He understood its purpose, but after absorbing all of that, he feels quite tired. That mission was of easy difficulty, but in practice, it felt like a medium one. The little pig sleeps happily, with her apple given by the mushroom. Watching her, he imagines they've done enough for the day. It was time to rest for the adventures that would begin at dawn. The day breaks, and the little pig is determined to eat all the apples she can find. His next mission is to kill 10 monsters from that region. His missions, although easy, are gradually becoming more challenging. However, he and the pig are now level 10. As long as the monsters are weaker, they won't have difficulties. Stubby called her over, as if she was satisfied it was time to begin the mission. This world is still different from a game. Monsters don't just appear, out of nowhere. While they walked, the pig's attention noticed something. Both she and the mushroom became alert. They had spotted the first target of the day. This small creature is a slime. It is at level 8 and can only be defeated when its heart is damaged. When it dies, it becomes a gel used as an ingredient in some medical recipes. They prepare to move towards the slime. With no time to lose, the time for the fight has come for both of them. The mushroom uses its charge, hitting the slime squarely. This causes it to be thrown across the grass. The impact's force left it disoriented. The mushroom believes that one more strike should be enough to finish off that creature. The little pig also advances, its return to attack. Her strike is strong enough to make the creature explode. After that, she lands calmly on the ground. She turns majestically towards her mushroom companion. Such a display of strength left him shocked. Even though they are at the same level, he's nowhere near her abilities. But this filled him with anger. He had finally found a weak monster for the mission, and she stole the achievement that should have been his. However, the system counted that creature, and the tally had begun. Moreover, he received 9 experience points for it. The pig spits a stone from her mouth, and she threw it towards the mushroom, who looked at it suspiciously. With the stone in his hands, he started observing the object. The team stone, which had absorbed a lot of moon energy. When two recognize each other as a team, they share missions and experience. This stone was among those they had collected before. He and the little pig are a team now. He looks at his colleague, intrigued. The little pig seems a bit down about what happened. He apologized to her and promised to find something tasty for her to eat soon. With these simple words, a little pig's mood was restored. Immediately, she began to move through the forest. She looked everywhere as if searching for something. The mushroom only hopes she doesn't understand that by forming a team, all they will do is chase after food. But he chose not to think about it, as she had proven to be truly reliable. They had now destroyed 4 monsters. All they managed to kill were slimes, and they even had to flee from stronger monsters. The mission won't be easy. As they walked, he asked where the little pig was taking him if they weren't lost. Until she decided to stop near a root, a piece of the plant moved quickly toward them, but the little pig managed to dodge, avoiding contact. Alert, the mushroom asked who was attacking them. From inside a dry tree, there was a pair of glowing eyes. The possessed stump is at level 18. It is resistant to flames and is a fusion of evil spirits with the trunk of a dead tree. Once discovered, it attacks them with much more aggression. Even so, the duo managed to dodge the monster's attack. Looking at the mark on the ground left by the attack, the mushroom was surprised by the strength of a higher-level monster. They need to be cautious. As they already have some synergy, they exchange confident looks. With quick evasive maneuvers, they execute a combined attack. As soon as the distance is reduced, both charge forward, ready to strike that cursed stump. Without defending itself, the monster is hit directly by them. Even though they attacked, the force of the impact repels them away, putting the effectiveness of the attack in doubt. The mushroom miscalculated. He didn't expect the recoil from the attack to cause injuries to him and the little pig. Worried, he looks to the side to see if the little pig managed to recover from the damage. The recoil was worse for her because her attack has a chance to stun the target. However, if its defense is too high, the attacker gets stunned instead. Meanwhile, the stump stands firm and strong, seemingly unscathed. Facing a monster 8 levels stronger than them is truly challenging. But this is no ordinary mushroom, and he has an idea. While he was thinking, the stump attacked again, this time targeting the little pig, who is out of combat due to being stunned. To block the view of the attack, he uses a spore explosion. The cloud obscures the vision, and amidst it, the mushroom manages to rescue his friend, who is still stunned. Soon, the mist begins to dissipate, and the stump searches for them. It looks around, unaware of what is happening. The mist finally clears, but it doesn't find them anywhere. Since it doesn't intend to search for them, it continues its way through the forest, ignoring the fact that they were there. Finding a spot among the bushes, it goes back to pretending to be just an innocent wooden stump. The mushroom is relieved that they are faster than it and manage to hide. The little pig is conscious again. Unfortunately, her nostrils pick up the smell of the spores. This drives her crazy, and she rushes out of the hiding spot, to the mushroom's complete despair. He does his best to hold her back and prevent them from getting into more trouble. At that moment, she was being a terrible team member, ignoring the danger of the situation. Happily, she starts licking the mushroom's cap. Faced with the situation, he feels powerless and simply asks her not to eat him. Partially understanding what he said, the little pig suggested they should look for something else since they can't defeat that stump. However, he is determined and says it's all part of his infallible plan. Still hiding, he is sure the monster isn't too far from them. Among the wood, small mushrooms start sprouting. Soon they are completely whole and functional. As if sick, the stump begins to lose its health 5 points at a time. This is the moment the mushroom orders the little pig to attack the enemy. She agrees with him and gets ready to charge. Both jump towards the stump, which is now agonizing from the infection. Once again, they strike it with all their strength. This time, there was no recoil damage, and they managed to land on the ground normally. The monster had been defeated by them. He gained 100 experience points, and the little pig gained 70. With this victory, both advanced to level 11. This made him enthusiastic. This strategy is effective against any stump they may encounter in the forest. As his friend continues walking, he briefly becomes pensive. Then he asks her to wait a moment. She looks back to see what's happening. The mushroom climbed onto the body of the defeated monster and pressed his cap against it. He is determined to use all this power to absorb that matter. The absorption process finally begins. He makes an effort to decompose the entire body. At the end of the process, he spent 50 mana points, but he had achieved his goal. This increased his proficiency with his skill, and he gained 200 experience points and 2 additional skills. Now the decomposition is on cooldown. Unfortunately, despite gaining a lot of experience, he can only use decomposition again in 24 hours. Looking at the system, he wanted to know what one-time use skills are. These are 2 skills he acquired from this monster, which he can only use once. If they have a duration, they are limited to a maximum of 10 minutes. Camouflage makes him become an object of the environment, and bark skin turns her into wood, increasing her defense. Because of this, he became very confident that he will be able to defeat the Demon King. The sky is illuminated by the moonlight, and inside his shelter, it is possible to see there is light within. The campfire burns, lifting soot into the air. Next to it, the little pig sleeps peacefully. The mushroom is now level 15, and his attack and health points are significantly higher. The same can be said for the little pig, who is now at level 14. Even though their progress is linear, he knows that stopping Golem's followers is now simply impossible. Pensive, he asks the system how long it will take to change class if he continues at this pace. The system tells him that monsters do not change classes but grow stronger through evolution. This is a new possibility for him, as he doesn't know what evolution entails. Each monster has its own evolutionary paths, but they can also acquire special mutations depending on their environment. Because of this, he wants to know when he will be able to evolve. The first evolution mission will come at level 20, the second at level 40, and so on. He is only 5 levels away, and he wants to know the most powerful path for a mushroom to take. He doesn't want to become like that rock he saw earlier. The system can show him some evolutionary paths, but each one will cost 200 gold coins. Seeing that he needs to pay for the information, he becomes a little pensive. The system was finally showing him how truly stingy it is. However, the system claims to be generous and will show him 1 evolutionary path for free. With 100 iron ores and 100 bronze, he could become a rock. With almost 1,000 diamonds, a pair of glasses, and 1,000,000 coins, he'll become a diamond mushroom. That last mushroom seemed interesting. Then the system says that if he knows in advance he could already start collecting the necessary materials, this will only cost 200 gold coins. It was the fact that he needed to pay that made him pensive. Because of this, he said that the system is not stupid, but it is surprising that it expects a monster to have money. In response, the system said that where there's a will, there's a way. If he were human, he could even manage that, but as a mushroom, it's a bit more challenging. Negotiating, the system asks what he thinks about replacing money with materials. He stands up calmly and says it won't be necessary. No matter what it says, he already has an evolutionary path in mind. Curious about his stance, the system wants to know what he wants to become. Confidently, the mushroom says he will become the Mushroom King. Dawn finally breaks. It is the second day of hunting. He dodges his slashing attack with skill. The little pig does the same and is very focused. They are prepared to defeat that enemy. The praying mantis stands before them, ready to unleash more slashing attacks. This is a medium difficulty mission that will grant 500 experience points. The three of them are staring at each other intensely, as if in a duel where the first to make a mistake will die. The mushroom uses the stump's ability and his skin starts to turn into wood. With the added resistance, he advances to attack. The praying mantis prepares to strike as soon as he gets closer. Thus, it executes its slash with precision and effectiveness. The monster falls, crouching on the grass. Behind it, the mushroom remains unharmed. He slowly turns, full of confidence. He said that the praying mantis attacks no longer work on him. Calmly, the monster places its blade in its sheath. It slides it in as if it were a samurai. Finally, the mushroom notices that the top of his cap had been cut. That single attack took 75 health points from him, leaving him in despair, thinking he might die. With his little fingers, he signals for the little pig to come closer. They whisper briefly about how they plan to execute the next attack. Finishing the conversation, he pats her. Now it's her turn to do her part, and the mushroom is confident in his partner. Still in combat, the praying mantis remains vigilant of its surroundings. It looks to the other side to locate its enemies. In front of it is the little pig, confident. She begins to circle around it. Suddenly, she charges for the monster. It responds in kind, ready to attack. It is prepared to draw its blade and deliver a lethal blow. With great speed, it draws its blade and unleashes a triple slash. Its cuts sweep through the air with devastating force, but the little pig manages to dodge the first one. The second slash also misses her. She completely evades the attack and is now closer to the monster. She manages to land a direct hit with her attack. However, using the back of its blade, the praying mantis manages to defend itself. Behind it, there is a wooden stump waiting patiently. It's the mushroom who had used his camouflage there. Even though it's strong, this monster is not at all attentive to its surroundings, which is why the mushroom rock finished it off suddenly. Overconfident, he lets go of the branch he was holding. The small branch falls to the ground on the plain. Now the small mushroom prepares his stance to attack. He charges with a deadly thrust towards the praying mantis. He is close to striking it while it's unprotected. The monster notices the sudden approach. In the last moment, it tries to turn to face him. But the brutal impact happens, and now its head no longer has a body to call its own. Despite being dangerous, it had been defeated by them. As a result, they receive experience, 300 points for the little pig and 340 for the mushroom. Completing the mission caused them both to level up again. His charge ability is now at level 4. He boasts about being a professional player. With strategy, stronger monsters are not a challenge. So he asks the system for another medium difficulty mission. He must go to the Mushroom Kingdom, but the system warns him that the journey is long and he should be careful with his stamina, as if he exhausts it, he could be preyed upon by weak monsters. Curious about where this kingdom is located, he wanted to know if it was far from there. But the system says it's not that far, just 400 kilometers away. After hearing that, he looks at the road, deep in thought. It could only be the system messing with him. The system says there's no need to walk there and that it can tell him a faster way for a mere 200 coins. Ignoring the system, he looks at the little pig and says it's great to have her as company at times like these. That made her feel very proud of her abilities. The system remains silent after being ignored. So the day goes by, and he continues his journey to the Mushroom Kingdom. With much effort, they advance 20 kilometers towards the destination. His strategy was to place an apple in front of the little pig. But now she is exhausted after so much walking. Walking this way is too tiring, and he only has 33 stamina points left. At this rate, the system says he can only walk another 18 kilometers before his stamina runs out. He needs to rest. Even with the help of the little pig, they didn't get very far, and she only has 12 stamina points left. He should have expected this to happen since the mission is of medium difficulty. It wouldn't be easy. The system says he cannot cancel a mission once accepted, but maybe he could think of another way to get there. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the money to pay the system and cheekily asks if he could receive a freebie, but the system says it won't give any tips until it's paid, even knowing he doesn't have money. He just wants to know who was the smart one who made it, so he needed money to use the system. The system suggests that the player explore his skills. He might discover something new. That's indeed an interesting tip. So the mushroom started thinking about what he could do. While he was thinking, something moved quickly. An impact occurred on the ground, raising debris into the air. Both he and the little pig are anxious as they don't know what's happening. From the dust cloud, a staff emerges. 2 people are there now, and they seem to be mages. They are definitely humans. With his assessment, he discovers that the hooded figure is at level 28. It seems to be the same mage from before, and now he is much stronger. The mushroom worked hard and is still only at level 16. The other mage is at level 36 and says he has finally found what he was looking for. They walk towards the spot where the mushroom is. The hooded one is levitating and getting closer to them. The little pig steps out of her hiding spot. She boldly places herself between the mage and the mushroom. She stomps her foot on the ground, furious, but they continue approaching. The mushroom is paralyzed and asks his companion to return to him as she could die. Without any hesitation, the mage kicks the little pig out of his way. The blow is strong and she flies far away. It leaves her devastated and she can't get up. Because of this, the mushroom is left speechless by such unprovoked aggression. But the mages pass by him without caring. The hooded one found it strange that such low-level demons were in that place. With what happened, the mushroom is still paralyzed. The bald mage turns to the storm hawk eggs as he had risked his life to find them. These eggs are necessary for his class change. Carefully, he takes one in his hands. He had finally found it, and the mushroom remains there, completely paralyzed. The danger posed by these two is immense. Involuntarily, he fires his spore explosion. The two start coughing from the mist. The bald one didn't expect the mushroom to be able to perform this skill. His companion said he had seen one do that before, but they needed to leave quickly as the place is very dangerous. Recovered, the little pig starts running towards them again, filled with rage. Her attack is set, ready to hit either of the two. She leaps furiously at them. Now the little pig is almost about to strike the bald one. However, the tip of his staff begins to glow. Mysteriously, he vanished from her sight. The little pig was left confused, but it was too late to stop her attack. Thus, she collided with the stone in front of her. The impact left her stunned once again, and she fell onto the small tree into the hawk's nest. She is now lying on one of the remaining eggs, but she is completely unaware of what is happening there. The force of her strike caused the stone to crack considerably. As the cracks began to spread, they grew larger. The mushroom is worried. If she hadn't attacked, they might have had a chance to escape. Looking more closely at the mushroom, the mage wonders if he is a variant, as he even has arms and legs. The tree's roots lift one of the stones. This immediately makes the mages apprehensive. As a defense mechanism, this plant releases the tension in its roots, causing the rocks to spin dangerously. Aware of the danger, the humans back away from the stones. The mushroom also does his best to avoid getting caught in it. If he isn't fast enough, he will end up getting hit. To escape effectively, he used his charge. He aimed for the top of the plant where the disoriented little pig was. Skillfully, he managed to reach where she was. But looking down, he realizes that it was very dangerous. The root continues to spin uncontrollably with the stone. Inevitably, it hits another plant that was standing still. This causes the roots of that other plant to react in the same way. Now there are two spinning boulders uncontrollably. The situation is increasingly dangerous and completely out of control. This chain reaction caused several plants to start spinning their roots in the same way. Trapped in that place, the bald mage casts a spell to protect himself from the impacts. The other does the same, worried about the possibility of being hit. A random little creature passing by was struck by a boulder. It definitely won't be going home today. One of the spinning plants begins to twist again. Slowly, the stones it was spinning return to their original positions. Its root intertwines once more, and among its stones there is a poor creature. The roots immediately begin to consume that body. After the danger passes, they return to normal, and the little creature's body is already dried out. This scene made the mushroom realize the extent of the danger he had faced. Meanwhile, the little pig remains disoriented beside him. The bald mage is not at all pleased with what just happened. Realizing the situation, the mushroom looks in their direction. The hooded one is already prepared to use his lightning. Even though he had protected himself, the bald mage took some damage, which made him furious. The same can be said for the hooded one, who now has fewer teeth in his mouth. Someone would pay the price for this, and the mushroom realizes he will be the target. The humans advance toward him, ready to cause harm. But high in the sky, a flying creature announces its arrival. This is enough to make both of them realize that it might not be worth staying there. They had paid 1,000 coins to a group of mercenaries to delay this bird, but they held out for less time than expected. The bird swoops down at them, fierce. Its flaming feathers are already visible. A massive explosion occurs upon impact, even hurling the plants away. The dust kicked up obscures the mages. Both manage to summon an ice shield. However, the bird remains in the sky, aggressive and determined to attack them. Hiding, the mushroom looks at it with his evaluation skill. His skill is still at a very low level, but he knows that this creature is at level 47. The long-haired one is out of mana and asks the bald one for cover so he can drink a potion. But the bald one is also depleted and won't be able to do much longer. They only had one option left, to use the high-quality potion as their last chance for defense. Before he could react, an attack was perfectly executed. The bald mage now had only half of his friend left to help him. This definitely wasn't the situation he had expected. Now there's not much he can do. Meanwhile, the bird swallows the other half of his friend. The falcon finishes its small meal. Now wants to know the taste of the bald one's flesh. Quickly, he opens a portal through a magic circle. He grabs the largest potion and opens it promptly. The bald mage drinks its contents hurriedly. The falcon approaches him, eager for a snack. He had already accepted his defeat, but won't allow it to be easy. The falcon's dangerous claws draw near, ready. To protect himself, he places the hawk's egg in front of its attack. The bird immediately halts as it knows its offspring is at risk. The brief proximity caused his clothes to burn, and he was pushed back. His whole body trembles from the pressure of the attack that didn't even fully land. This caused him to spit out a bit of blood. It said that high-level monsters are intelligent, and it seems that's true. The bald mage threatens the creature, saying he will break the egg if he feels threatened. This left the falcon in a vulnerable position. Wielding his staff, he summons a lightning spell. A powerful bolt descends from the sky immediately. Unable to attack, the falcon is struck. Even though it is powerful, the attack is strong enough to injure it. Because of the electricity, it is paralyzed and won't be able to move for a while. He's only doing this for his second class change, and this ingredient is difficult to obtain. But today he can release his frustrations, acquiring the ingredient and defeating a high-level monster. The falcon tries to move, but it is weak. Stepping on the falcon, he says he will now have his revenge on all those who called him worthless. As a form of ego affirmation, he tramples the creature. He says that even though the creature is high-level, it is now being stepped on by him. After feeling satisfied, it was time to end it. In his hand, he holds a vial of poison, said to be as potent as the one who created it. He breaks the container with the poison. His eyes fill with a malevolent gleam. With his ice lances, he coats the tip of each one with the toxin. Now he is ready to finish the creature. The ice stakes fly rapidly. There's nothing the creature can do as it is paralyzed. The first one strikes its wing. Soon, the other stakes pierce its body. The falcon agonizes from the pain of the wounds. Now the creature is wounded and paralyzed. It wasn't enough, but if he attacks more, the falcon will eventually die. With almost no strength left in his body, the beast looks at the egg in the bald man's hands. The stone in his staff begins to glow intensely. The man promises that after he finishes off the bird, he will crush all its eggs. Though unable to move, the falcon cries out in rage. From the sky, the lightning is being prepared. Not far away, the mushroom's camouflage had worn off. The bald man is confident that his life is finally going to change for the better, but he is suddenly struck in the neck by an unexpected attack. It was the mushroom who hit him with his charge. The staff stopped glowing, canceling the attack. As a result, the egg in his hands is flung into the air. The falcon looks desperately at its offspring, unable to save it, but the small mushroom manages to prevent it from hitting the ground. This gave the falcon relief as the egg is finally safe. The falcon also knows this, and now the situation is different. It manages to move one of its wings. Within it strikes the bald man who cannot defend himself. It was enough to send him flying far from there. He is now leaning against a rock, almost out of strength. He has no idea what happened, but he knows he needs to escape if he wants to stay alive. In one of his hands, he holds a teleportation scroll, but the falcon doesn't intend to let that human escape so easily. A magic circle suddenly appears beneath him. The man begins to burn alive. Soon there is no skin left on his body, only screams in pain. Witnessing this, the mushroom is terrified by the power of the dying bird. The flames burn intensely. As a result of this battle, the falcon had leveled up. Its feathers are majestic and its health is restored. Now the creature is at level 48. It cries out in the meadow, demonstrating its power. Its strength is so great that even the clouds disperse. The mushroom does his best to avoid being blown away. He remains beneath the egg, but now the bird is watching him. In front of him is a powerful creature that he definitely cannot defeat. The mushroom doesn't move under its gaze, and the mother falcon continues to stare at him intensely. But, unexpectedly, the shell of the egg begins to crack. The crack slowly grows. From it emerges a tiny baby falcon. Immediately, the small creature looks around. Stepping out of the egg, it takes its first steps. Looking at where it came from, it sees the mushroom. It seems to give him a smile. Curious, it approaches the mushroom. It nuzzles him affectionately, as if it knows what happened. The powerful bird is thrilled with the birth of its chick. Emotional, it starts approaching it. But as it gets closer, it notices something unusual. Its chick rejects it and kicks its face. A chick is irritated by all the closeness. Sweet and cold, the mushroom asks what it had done to its mother. Two other small creatures approach from there. The falcon mother, her chick, and the mushroom look at them. It's the piglet, and on its back are the other two chicks that had just been born. This made the falcon mother even more emotional and full of love. She approaches to caress her little ones. However, the other two immediately reject her. They are playing with the piglet, thinking it is their real mother. The other chick approaches the mushroom once again. Definitely, they are very cute, although dangerous. The three little ones are playing with the mushroom and the piglet. Meanwhile, the mother watches everything desolate. Great is her suffering for being rejected. Seeing this, the mushroom looks at her thoughtfully, and then it had a brilliant idea. Walking, it asked the piglet to follow. It had approached the falcon mother. Stopping suddenly, those following it ended up bumping into each other. It looks at her closely in the company of her offspring. Although she is emotional, she glares back threateningly. Her intentions are clear before the mushroom. But one of the chicks appears and starts pecking at her. That blow is more painful than poison ice stakes. The three little ones come together as if to protect their small parents, but the mushroom stands between them and their real mother. Looking at them, it firmly says they cannot do that. With a reprimand, the chicks became sad. Having their attention, it performed a horrible dance and ended with a stone in its hands. With some effort, it breaks it. They watch, not understanding much. Pointing to the falcon mother, it says she is their progenitor and risked her life so they could be born. These words made her emotional. With authority, it commanded the chicks to be good and give her a hug. Happy, she received them with her immense wings. In light of this good action, it hopes the falcon mother will return the favor and take them to the mushroom kingdom. With the chicks under her wings, she looks at the mushroom again. Her gaze remains extremely threatening. Now it feels a bit uncertain about its strategy and hopes she will consider being grateful to it. But all she does is turn around and leave. Desolate, the mushroom still hopes she will take them to the mushroom kingdom. However, all it sees is them moving away into the horizon. In the distance, the chicks look back. The falcon mother does the same, with her intimidating gaze. She says the mushroom is bold as it is a low-level monster and wants to give her orders. It did not expect that creature to be able to speak, and more than that, by its voice, it is clearly a male. Concern weighs on it brutally, and the small mushroom starts to sway cold. The falcon steps in its direction. He wants to know what qualifications the mushroom has to make demands before him. Walking, it felt there was something wrong with its body. The bird ended up spitting some blood. Its chicks watch the scene worried. It seems its wounds were too extensive and it begins to tremble, until its body succumbs and falls to the ground. This unexpected result left everyone worried. The little chicks approach the falcon. The bird is so weakened it can barely keep its eyes open. Worried, it looks at the mushroom and the piglet as if they were wrongdoers. As hours passed, night fell over the prairie. The falcon starts to wake up gradually. Regaining its senses, it looks at the nearby source of warmth. Its three chicks are inside the bonfire. This unusual scene makes it panic, but the chicks are fine. They were just sleeping. Realizing this, it calms down again. Near the source of fire, the piglet sleeps deeply. This left the falcon completely indignant. Once awake, it forces itself to try to stand up, but its legs are still trembling. Despite its great effort, it falls back to the ground. The pain it feels throughout its body is devastating. Not even leveling up was able to cleanse its body of that synthetic toxin. Close to it, it heard the sound of some flasks clinking. The creature looks intrigued at the source of the sound. The mushroom, with its small hands, pulls some things from its bag. On the ground before it, there are various items and gold coins too. Seeing all that, the falcon addresses the mushroom. With a mischievous smile, it says the bird has finally woken up. Then it starts walking towards him with a vial in hand. As a cautious creature, the bird immediately became wary of the mushroom. It simply ignored her and forced the contents of the vial down her throat. That was hateful. It didn't even have the strength to resist the actions of a low-level monster. However, it immediately felt something change. That potion made its stamina gradually increase. It was good the falcon hadn't eaten the entire body of one of them, for there was the antidote, but it would take time to take effect, so it should rest. Knowing the situation was unusual, it asked why the mushroom had saved it, but it says that if it hadn't done that, there would be no one to take care of his offspring. And thanks to what it did, they are all safe there. The falcon looks at its chicks, moved. Even with the antidote administered, it still struggles to stand. Looking at it, the mushroom said it had no ill intentions and only wanted to go to the mushroom kingdom, as it was just passing through. But the falcon is staring intently at its chicks. It says the path is full of dangers, and even if they manage to get there, as a mushroom, it will be fine, but it cannot say the same for the piglet. Meanwhile, she dreams of delicious foods. However, the mushroom didn't understand what the falcon had said. It continues, saying the mushroom king is a famous creature. Not only humans, but any creature that approaches its kingdom is attacked without question. That's why it was outraged when the mushroom asked to be taken there, as it already knew it was dangerous. While it was reflecting, the falcon approached the mushroom. This made it terribly frightened, and it asked what the falcon wanted with it. Frightened, it immediately steps back. The falcon, however, says it's a very strange monster. Not understanding that, it thought the strange one that was really that bird. A common mushroom, like it should be a mindless existence, but that is not the case. A low-level and intelligent monster is rare. It would be the perfect supplement for its chicks. That left the small mushroom even more scared. But the falcon lets out a loud laugh. It said it was just kidding, but the mushroom almost released its spores involuntarily. It's not like humans who destroy everything just to satisfy their selfish desires. The mushroom knows they once lived peacefully in the past and wants to know why they don't return to those days. Humans only need the eggshells, but they break them before they hatch. That's how it lost all its previous broods. Even in other worlds, humans remain despicable. Just remembering this fills the falcon with rage. It made it scream again, and a flaming aura enveloped its entire body. Even so, his brood sleeps peacefully. It looks at them, worried. This time, his brood only survived because of the mushroom, and for that, it thanks it. Frightened by that reaction, it said it's no problem at all. That way, it would take it to the Mushroom Kingdom the next day, so it asked it to rest well. Alright was already thinking about resting, but it finally realizes what the falcon had said. All happy, it wants to know if the falcon will really take them to the Mushroom Kingdom. It indeed will, but it's better to shut up before it changes its mind. Excited, it asked the bird to sleep because there are still some things to do before it can rest. Suspicious, the bird looks at it, wanted to know what that small creature is plotting. There are many ingredients there, and it should taste some before leaving. In its hands is some gel from the slimes it captured. It adds it to the potion it's making. Next to the dish, it placed a stone. Calmly, it climbed it with its small legs. To prepare, it started swinging its large bag. Touching its rear to the liquid, it used the decomposition skill. That way, it began to absorb everything there. It required a lot of effort, even though it was simple. Then it started to vomit a liquid into a vial. It was so disgusting the bird couldn't watch without having a reaction. From its mouth, a bit of vomit dripped, and its rear is wet from that potion. It calmly approached the bird, saying they would need a lot from it and that this is a stamina potion. Just imagining drinking that makes the bird burn with disgust. Now it has some items, a teleportation scroll, almost 500 coins, and several potions. At dawn the next day, the falcon is already in the air. He flies smoothly, and in his claws are the mushroom and the piglet. The mushroom asks his friend not to be afraid and to listen to everything he says as soon as they arrive. She agrees with a friendly grunt. The falcon says they are close and should prepare to land. He begins his descent toward the ground. The mushroom is terrified, while the piglet enjoys the sensation. Thus, they get closer and closer to the ground. The mushroom could barely handle the excitement of descending. His friend, on the other hand, is fascinated by the landscape. Recovering himself, he finally sees the Mushroom Kingdom. The place is large and surrounded by protective walls. The kingdom stretches over a vast circular area. As it gets closer, the falcon notices they are being attacked. To evade it, he asks his passengers to hold on tight. They momentarily hug at this command. Soon, the falcon begins to descend even faster. A jet that appears to be made of mud almost hits them, but the bird fills its mouth prepared to defend itself. It unleashes a powerful burst of magical fire. The impact prevents them from being hit. The little mushroom wants to know what's attacking them. The falcon's response is categorical. They are his kind. Hovering in the air, the smoke from the impact dissipates. Below them, it is possible to see creatures on the walls. Several mushrooms are positioned there like artillery. The mage is ready to act, and the small mushrooms go to their positions. He is at level 44, calm and serene, and uses his magic to make other mushrooms evolve. With a wand in hand, he begins to recite an incantation. Then he touches the mushroom next to him. The little one starts vibrating. It doesn't take long for the vibrations to turn into jumps. It finally transformed into another mushroom full of thorns. It is an explosive mushroom that self-destructs and can take down creatures twice its level. This one is at 24, so it hops a bit in another direction. Now it's lodged at the tip of a cannon. The cannon mushroom is at level 36. It usually shoots mucus, but in its absence, it can fire other objects or mushrooms. Its nose starts to itch. The need to sneeze grows stronger. Once inevitable, it takes more and more breath. Its cannon retracts because of this, until it finally sneezes with relief, launching the explosive mushroom into the sky. Several of these shots are fired. The falcon needs to protect itself, or the result could be fatal. It knows this and waits for the moment to act. Skillfully, it manages to dodge all of them. Up high, the mushrooms that missed stop flying. They immediately explode, releasing spores into the air toward the falcon. That sudden spore explosion forces the falcon to take urgent evasive measures. To trigger self-destruction, the mushroom needs to pull a lever on its body. Once done, it starts glowing as if engulfed by a great heat. These are the creatures he needs to dodge, and there's one dangerously close. The situation forces the falcon to use a magical ability once again, creating a wall of fire. This way, he manages to prevent all the spores from hitting him. His magic lasts long enough not only to protect him, but its formation serves as a distraction for him to continue fleeing. They've already passed through the outer layer, and he will leave them in the inner layer. After that, they are on their own. However, they didn't hear anything because they are completely stunned by the falcon's evasive maneuvers. Quickly, he is already approaching the destination point. That's when he realizes something is wrong. The closer he gets to the city, the more he senses the imminent danger. This makes him halt his progression. Stammering, the mushroom wants to know if they have reached their destination. Unfortunately, he can only take them this far. If he goes any further, he certainly won't be able to return. Faced with this, the mushroom wants to know where they are. Without an answer, it felt the falcon's claws dropping him in the air. For a brief moment, they didn't understand anything that was happening. Now he and the piglet are in freefall, but she seems to be loving the experience. As they get closer to the ground, they are also getting closer to a rainbow. The little mushroom hits it with its head. After the first impact, both start sliding down it as if it were a slide. The further they go down, the more they feel that characteristic tickle in their stomachs. They are almost reaching the ground. After bouncing a few times on the grass, the two are finally sitting on the lawn. They remained still, meaning to process everything they just experienced. They felt intense emotions in a short time. The piglet loved the process. Her friend, on the other hand, wished for death. Looking back, he thanked God for not having died. It didn't take long for them to feel a slight tremor in the ground. The tremor grew stronger, making them look at that boulder. Another one also began to vibrate alongside it. There, in that innocent grassy field, they were surrounded by enormous stone mushrooms. The terrifying scene left him petrified. But one of them hesitated, unsure of what to do, and the piglet looked at them innocently. It took a moment for one of them to realize she wasn't a mushroom. But as soon as it noticed, it started shouting angrily. That served as an alert, and now they all knew there was an intruder there. The little mushroom knew they were reacting that way because of the piglet. Brave, she stands firmly on the ground, unafraid. In response, the mushroom gave her a knock on the head as she shouldn't react to that provocation. The best they could do now was run with everything they had. Immediately, the boulders jump into the air. They begin to chase the intruder. They aren't that fast, but unfortunately, they are quite numerous. On the path they were following, more boulders appeared. Not wanting to run into them, they turn around to change direction. And once again, they changed course because there were more hostile mushrooms. Unfortunately, they were now completely surrounded. There was no other option but to take a risk. The little mushroom uses its spore explosion, creating a large cloud of them. The closest boulders can't figure out where they are. One of them looks at the mist, puzzled. The others are the same, as they don't know what happened to the intruders. Within the mist, the mushroom takes some slime jelly and spreads it on the piglet's back. On top of her, he placed part of a mushroom, and he gathered a few more from the ground. While the mist persisted, he worked hard to camouflage her. Around them, the boulders remained, waiting to see where they were. With a confident smile, he told them there was a misunderstanding. As they started to see him partially, they grew angry again. The little mushroom asked for calm and said they were a big family. Seeing this, those who were previously hostile now seemed intrigued. The mushroom introduced them to a new species, the piglet mushroom, which appeared visibly uncomfortable with everything on her body. The scene was too complex for their understanding. One of the mushrooms unfortunately detached from her, and it broke upon hitting the ground. But they still didn't know what that creature was. The little mushroom said she was shedding, which was normal for that species. They began walking calmly while the others were unsure how to react or perhaps were admiring this new being. Once they gained some distance, they started running. Their luck in getting away unscathed was due to the immense stupidity that filled the boulder's understanding. Even so, he felt proud of the disguise because an ordinary mushroom wouldn't have noticed anything. A figure that was there said he was an interesting guy. This made them alert, and the mushroom asked who was there. The samurai thought that it was a monster controlled by a human. He observed them from above, curious about what he saw. From the evaluation, he knew it was Shaitakenobi or samurai, but couldn't gather any additional information. Not even being able to see its level, he knew he couldn't deceive this creature with cheap tricks. Realizing the assessment, he said that only humans have that ability and that he wasn't wrong about him. Trying to avoid conflict, he said they were all mushrooms here, and that there was no need for anything aggressive. The samurai had thrown his hat toward him. The object was almost reaching them. Unable to react against such a powerful being, he just closed his eyes. That samurai had already passed by them without them noticing. Then they heard the sound of his sword returning to its sheath. With his other hand, he caught his hat. There is nothing more to be said. With him protecting that territory, there is no chance for intruders to pass. He is Cage, one of the 4 great generals. But the little mushroom says there was a misunderstanding. However, he notices he has lost a large amount of health. An imperceptible strike had split him into 2 halves. The piglet watches her friend split, unresponsive. His pieces fall before her, lifeless. She can no longer hold back her emotions. The disguise she was wearing fell to the ground. All that remains in the little piglet now is rage. Furious, she begins grunting uncontrollably. Her fury drives her to charge at the samurai. Fearless, she launches her attack, ready to end everything. Without losing his calm and focus, the samurai says all intruders deserve to die. The blow with the sword's hilt was so fast that she only realized it had happened. With devastating results, she can no longer react. The piglet is on the ground, unaware of her surroundings. Meanwhile, the samurai's blade is raised, ready to take her life. He places both hands on his sword, preparing to execute. Focused, he is ready to end the creature's suffering. However, by a twist of fate, he hears a trumpet being blown. The sound echoes throughout the area, catching his attention. This is not an ordinary call, and the samurai needs to hurry. He immediately forgets what he was about to do and returns to the city center. The ground begins to shake intensely. Even the boulders respond to the trumpet's call. They do their best to move quickly. On the grassy field, only the unconscious piglet and the 2 halves of the mushroom remain. His small body still lies motionless. However, soon the space between them begins to fill. This way, his small body rejoins. He had come back to life without understanding how. Even so, he is sure that he had died and that he no longer had any resurrection coins. Regaining his senses, he realizes the piglet is unconscious. Terrified, he goes to her to see if she's okay. Fear grips the mushroom, who fears his companion is not well. Even trying to wake her up, she shows no reaction. Faced with this, the mushroom feels desolate. Imagining he lost his companion, he cries inconsolably. This causes him to release spores involuntarily. The mist dissipates quickly. He laments, saying he is responsible for bringing her there. However, the piglet's nostrils begin to inhale the spores. That causes her to immediately get up, hitting the mushroom's face. She is awake and revitalized as if nothing had happened. Everything happens so quickly that the mushroom still doesn't understand his friend is fine. She looks at him as soon as she notices him. She happily runs to the small mushroom, thinking he had also perished. The piglet licks him nonstop, but he doesn't mind as he's relieved she's okay. Wiping his tears, he believes she had passed away. Once again, the sound of the trumpets echoed, catching the dude's attention. That sound produces unexpected reactions in him. The piglet finally notices her friend is acting differently. The small mushroom appears to be in a hypnotic state. She grunts a few times, but he walks like a zombie. With her mouth, she tries to drag him to another place. Exerting force, her bite becomes stronger. Being pulled and bitten snaps the mushroom out of it. He doesn't know what just happened, only that his head hurts a lot. The piglet looks at him once more, hoping he's back to normal. But the sound of the trumpet echoed once again throughout the place, making the small mushroom fall back into his hypnotic state. This time he starts running toward the sound. The piglet is surprised by her friend's speed. She runs after him so that he doesn't reach the city. There is a waterfall descending through that area. The water cascades down from a high point, following its course through the landscape. Various mushrooms are advancing as if heading into battle. On the other side, there are many people gathered to fight them. The explorers clash with the mushrooms violently. A man with a repugnant bald head defends against the attack of a small mushroom. He is a level 33 D-class warrior and eliminated the creature with a single strike. Another level 29 swordsman trusts his rear to this warrior. His perception keeps him alert to his surroundings. Skillfully, he manages to slice up some mushrooms. Since there are many, a small one approaches him with a spear, but the creature's attack is thwarted as it is struck by an arrow. Its small fungal body falls lifeless to the ground. The one who saved him was a level 21 archer, alerting him to the constant danger but promising to protect his flanks. He said now was not the time for distraction and that the real battle had yet to begin. Several level 19 mushrooms join the battle. They should protect themselves immediately as they are using a swarm technique. A pair of hands begins to cast a spell. Immediately, all the small mushrooms turn into large ice blocks. Frozen, they become easy targets, and one is pierced by an arrow. Another is sliced by a sharp sword, and some others are crushed by the spikes of a shield. The one who came to assist is a rank C mage. This is Taha, a level 38 ice mage. They're under orders from the vice leader. Massive metal forms begin to move. These are mecha mushrooms at level 41. Unable to dodge the attack, the mage conjures an ice barrier. However, the mushroom's drill is strong enough to break through it. Faced with the unexpected, his eyes are filled with despair. The others scream in panic as there is nothing they can do. A loud explosion occurs and the ground is torn up, sending debris flying. Now the small mage writhes in agony as a significant portion of his torso is gone. More of those deadly mushrooms soon appear. In the midst of the crowd, someone shouts for Taha. This person wields a large staff with a red stone at its tip. Immediately, the instrument begins to glow intensely. The man prepares to launch his flaming spear at the mushrooms. It flies swiftly toward the first target. The impact is completely destructive. This is Waga, the leader of these people, a level 49 fire mage, and he tells Taha to hold on because he will take him to the city. The archer knows that if he leaves the battle, he will face punishment from his guild. Meanwhile, Taha writhes in pain, saying he doesn't want to be logged out of the life server yet because he's still too young. Waga doesn't care about the punishment. His principles are non-negotiable, and it seems the guild treats them as disposable material, as they haven't done anything in the battle so far. As they talk, they hear a characteristic sound coming from the air. Another one of those mushrooms prepares to attack. This time, the warrior manages to parry the attack with his shield. It's not the time for conversation or argument. They are on the battlefield, and every second there is dangerous. With effort, he manages to repel the creature away. The mushroom falls to the ground but doesn't take any damage. This allows the swordsman to take advantage of the opportunity. He stomps the ground forcefully to launch himself into the air. As he lands, he delivers a precise stab to the mushroom. Once inside it, the sword begins to vibrate. Soon, there is no more life or hostility left in that creature. Waga suggests everyone leave with him as they are only serving as cannon fodder for the stronger ones. But the swordsman disagrees with him, saying that's how the guild selects the strongest, and abandoning the battle now is something only fools would do. Now there are many injured people there and many destroyed mushrooms. It's time for them to show their strength, and there's no better way than to accomplish the mission of subjugating the Mushroom Kingdom. The warrior agrees, saying he is old and still in rank T, but he will do his best to help. In front of the swordsman, the others advance into battle. That swordsman hopes to one day be recognized as the Sword Saint. Waga heard everything but said nothing more. Even as the team leader, the bald man recognizes that it is this ambitious young man who has kept everyone united. The archer is motivated and says she believes in him. Once again, the trumpet is blown by the mushroom. That curious sound heightens everyone's alertness. The wounds covering one of them begin to react. It is regenerating to the sound of the trumpet. In response, the archer warns that the monsters are regenerating. The small mushrooms rise, ready to fight once more. All those they had killed are now alive again. The body the swordsman was leaning on is alive again. Realizing this, he panics. He stabs it repeatedly, but the bald man tells him to stay calm and that they need to regroup now. However, something happens right in front of him, but he cannot react. Someone had struck him with such force that even his shield was shattered. The other two don't understand what happened to the bald man, who now has his face turned inside out. This leaves the once brave swordsman horrified. Wada feels the same shiver running through his body. It's a muscular mushroom, a juice-loving, needle-fearing one at level 47. Furious, the fire mage promises to burn each one of them there. A great fiery aura envelops him as he rises from the ground. Once his attack is ready, he directs the large fireball at his enemy. The flames advance swiftly, and the juice-loving mushroom realizes that if it doesn't act, it will be roasted. What he hadn't noticed was that someone nearby was wielding a wand. A mushroom mage was using its magic. Next to the buff mushroom, a tiny one began to glow. With the magic, it had evolved instantly. Its cap was large enough to shield against the fireball's attack. That was the fire mage's most powerful attack, and it was blocked effortlessly. Meanwhile, another mushroom let out a big sneeze, and from his barrel, a projectile was fired. The fire mage was hit by this attack. To the despair of his companions, he falls to the ground, unresponsive. The sneezing mushroom uses its many legs to reposition itself. This time, it's preparing to launch an explosive mushroom. Several of them are preparing to do the same. A massive artillery barrage is about to be launched toward the humans. Faced with the imminent danger, an order is given on the battlefield for them to spread out and protect themselves from the spores. The shots are finally fired in their direction. Destruction and carnage fill the prairie, and from above, people watch everything from the safety of a flying ship. The vessel navigates securely above them. Inside it are apparently the most powerful members of this guild. Yubel, a sword general at level 69 and rank A, asks Lilith if the target is ready. Through a crystal ball, she visualizes the Mushroom King. She is a beast tamer at level 62, and controlling a creature from afar while avoiding the king's influence is difficult. Nea, a ninja at level 64, tells her to hurry. as people are dying below, creating a distraction. Even if they are weak, they are still his companions, and it bothers him to just stand up there doing nothing. Marion is a high priestess at level 68, and she watches everything in silence. A young man says her power cannot be wasted on low-level monsters. This is Borka, a gunslinger at level 67, and he says the priestess cannot support cannon fodder. The ninja suggests they go down then, as the mushroom army is getting stronger, but the shooter says that in this guild, they only value results. Sentimentality has no place here, and until the leader says something, they will do nothing. Sitting on a throne is the leader of this guild. It's Gilheim, a fire mage at level 129. On the battlefield, they continue to defend themselves from the humans. A mushroom pulls out strands of hair from its head. It is a needle mushroom, and it is at work. Pulling out each of its hair strands is painful. Ordinary mushrooms approach it. As they get close, it hands the small one its strand of hair. This causes a reaction in the creature's body. It now has a small hand to hold this object, and small feet for moving. This transformed it into a level 19 soldier, and it does the same for all the small ones approaching it. Since there were many of them, it had to pull out several strands of hair. Running its hands over its head, it realized the worst had happened. It was bald. Feeling anger for being a bald mushroom, it channels its rage. The force of its anger causes the hair to start growing back. Its transformation was complete, and it had hair again without using minoxidil. Apparently there are no more mushrooms to take its hair, it just didn't want to be bald. There are mushrooms of all kinds, and they are all prepared to defend the kingdom. From above, the Mushroom King observes everything happening. Near him, a different mushroom approaches. The creature has a sinister look. It's an assassin at level 27. Close to the king, it uses its charge attack. This sudden movement makes the king look at it. With this attack, it managed to destroy something. This action was seen through the crystal ball. The tamer managed to destroy the Mushroom King's secret treasure. Knowing this, the leader declared that they could now descend to the battlefield to fight. In unison, they obey the leader's command. The mysterious object now lies shattered on the ground. This enraged the Mushroom King. In response, the assassin smiles maliciously. It leaps wildly around the area, taking down more creatures, until it is subdued and brought before the king. It seems they are accusing it of something. Before it could do anything, the creatures are struck by a barrage of shots. The assassin's body falls to the ground, lifeless. Through the now perforated body, it's clear who was responsible for the shots. This is Bo, one of the mushroom generals who does not tolerate rebellions and uprisings. In response, the Mushroom King remains silent. Behind him is a camouflaged creature. This chameleon has a small blade on its tongue. Stealthily, it attacks the king from behind. But its attack is blocked by a barrage of slashes. Its body and tongue are now in several independent pieces. The sword that did this returns to its sheath. The samurai had protected his king from an attack. Bo wants to know why he took so long. She thought he had died. He says he also encountered a mushroom controlled by humans and is surprised that the invaders have gotten so deep into their territory. With his hands, the king picks up the body of the traitorous mushroom. Knowing that one of his own was used in this manner fills him with rage. The body's fluids begin to flow. The body starts to liquefy as the king absorbs it, until there is no body left to absorb. The king's cape flutters in the air, trembling. This was the last straw, and he orders his army to advance with full force against the enemies. The piglet bites her friend, trying to make him stop, but he keeps walking, completely out of control of his actions. When the trumpet was broken, something happened to him. The small mushroom now has control over his body. He doesn't even know what happened, as he had no control over his body. Before them, the battle between the humans and mushrooms rages fiercely. Curious about what's happening, he moves closer. Several small creatures are emerging from a larger mushroom. They keep fighting, and their numbers seem endless. The human army is weakening. Watching, he realizes the battle is enormous, and that there is a wide variety of mushrooms. From a distance, he hopes the creatures will be able to subdue the humans. As the battle progresses, more and more humans are defeated. Even though they are small, they can be cruel. The juice-using creature channels its trembo rage against the humans. There are so many monsters that survival is a challenge. Paralyzed, the swordsman says he doesn't want to die. But his mind is collapsing, shattered like his sword. He no longer wants to be brave. He just wants to stay alive. Before him, the strongest of the guild finally descend. They have finally joined the battle. He looks at them, still in disbelief. After so much suffering, the experts have finally entered the conflict. The blonde asks the high priestess to withdraw the army from there, so there's no risk of friendly fire. The tamer prepares for battle. The shooter says nothing, just whistles calmly. The ninja says that everyone has done enough, and now it's up to them to resolve the situation. Full of splendor, the high priestess prepares her spell. Holding her staff, it glows vigorously. The light begins to spread across the battlefield. It's a mass teleportation spell. The swordsman who had given up is caught by the magic. A bubble forms around him, making him levitate. To the mushroom's surprise, all the humans are now in floating bubbles. Injured or not, they are all being taken out. The bubbles ascend into the sky, climbing higher and higher. The mushrooms are now uncertain about what is happening. The eyes of the high priestess glow intensely. A magic circle is conjured and the rescue people disappear. This takes a lot out of her capabilities. But now there is not a single person left who fought the creatures. The magical glow begins to fade slowly. Before the puzzled creatures, only that small group of humans remains. The blonde doesn't want to waste time and tells them to finish these enemies quickly. A single swing of his massive sword shakes the air. To brace himself, his foot destroys the ground beneath him. His grip is precise and powerfully firm. He roars, announcing he will unleash a powerful attack. A devastating blow is executed, the hero's blade. The cutting wave advances relentlessly, slicing everything in its path. A line of devastation is carved into the battlefield. Without hesitation, the ninja leaps from his position. Once airborne in position, he uses his techniques. Clasping his hands, he uses a move popularized by a boy in an orange jacket. The number of ninjas in the air begins to multiply, until there are many of them. He wields a whirlpool shuriken that grants 25 attack points. Throwing it toward the creatures, he creates a storm of cutting steel. As if that weren't enough, the shurikens multiply. Countless of them begin to fall from the sky. The remaining monsters are severely struck by this attack. A mage reacts, refusing to stand idly by. A large mushroom appears among its ranks. Its cap is enormous, shielding its allies like an umbrella. Its structure is also strong enough not to be pierced, but capable of deflecting the attack. The mages gather and begin casting more spells. However, one of their faces suddenly explodes. It doesn't take long for the others to meet the same fate. This puts the other mushrooms on high alert. The barrel of a gun smokes. The shooter had been the one responsible. Before him is a sneezing mushroom that saw everything but could do nothing. It is now furious over what happened. So it and its companions launch an artillery barrage. The explosive mushrooms rush toward him at high speed. But he isn't worried, claiming they are too slow. Calmly, he loads another cartridge into his shotgun. He tosses it into the air like a coin. It lands perfectly positioned in the gun. Now it's cocked and ready. Once loaded, he aims his rifle at the creatures. That single shot releases several small projectiles. Like a hailstorm of incandescent pellets, he stops the explosive mushrooms. Furthermore, his bullets aren't halted by them. They continue on their course toward the sneezers. There is nothing they can do and their bodies are shredded. This causes them to catch fire, losing life constantly. The others on the battlefield advance fiercely against the humans. The tamer has makeup in her hands. She spreads a bit of it over her face. When she finishes, she closes the container holding the powder. In her hands is a small bag. She opens it, searching for something. Looking inside her bag, she says it's time for a snack. From within, a menacing growl is heard. A clawed hand emerges from the bag, reaching for the creatures. Clenching its fingers, it grabs a large handful of them. The mushrooms that weren't stunned by the impact were captured by that grip. Swiftly, the hand returns to the bag. From inside, an audible burp is heard. Hidden, the small mushroom and his piglet friend watch everything. She had fallen asleep, but he observed it all and is now anxious. It seemed like a massacre, high-level players destroying small, irrelevant monsters. The blonde knows everyone must prepare and start targeting the Mushroom King. Once again, he swings his sword to unleash a powerful slash. Behind him, the ninja does the same, repeating the attack. With his rifle in hand, the shooter also takes aim at the king. Those three powerful attacks are launched. The synchronized strike merges them together. Now they form a single powerful blast. It advances dangerously toward the Mushroom King. Even at the brink of impact, he does not move. As time passes, the attack gets closer to him. However, the ground before him begins to crack. The earth rises up in front of the attack. A solid mass has emerged there. This structure serves as a wall blocking the attack. The humans simply watch as if expecting it wouldn't be easy. A pair of blue glowing eyes becomes visible, and a confident smile. A powerful diamond mushroom had risen. The attack took only 1 point of life from it. The creature is at level 92 with almost 10,000 defense. The Mushroom King is utterly enraged. Cage prepares for battle. Garrett is a mage and also one of the 4 generals. Bo was also ready to defend the kingdom. The most powerful warriors among the mushrooms had finally entered the battlefield. It was an unexpected surprise for them. The humans continue advancing through the terrain. It's the first time the ninja has seen a diamond mushroom, and the shooter had seen one before, but not as large as this. Its eyes must be worth a fortune. The tamer thinks it's a useless monster and wants the guild's vice leader to burn it to ashes. But the blonde says they're not rookies who need the vice leader's help all the time. The mushroom looks at them with a mischievous smile on its face. With the limited mobility it has, it tilts its head back, and then down, lowering its glasses slightly. This way, it can open its eyes. It opens them, revealing an intense glow. From its eyes comes a large laser-like blast. That attack heads toward the humans. As it gets closer, they become less able to see. The warrior plants his sword into the ground. He is not impressed by it at all. Digging his sword deeper into the terrain, it shines brighter and brighter. This creates a defense field around them. Meanwhile, the high priestess prepares to act. A scale and a feather appear in the air. She uses a powerful technique, the favor of the goddess. The beams emitted by the diamond mushroom are closing in. They strike the blonde's barrier with full force. But his and the priestess's technique holds strong. The attack beams are deflected in other directions. A stone is struck by the beam. Immediately, it and its surroundings transform into diamonds. Soon, the entire ground around them turns to diamond. Wherever those beams touch, the material becomes diamond. The shooter's greed grows, knowing if they could collect all that, they'd be rich. Focused, the mushroom hasn't stopped its attack, and the priestess needs to maintain her focus on her technique. The warrior is also being exhausted. His barrier begins to crack, and his hands and sword start turning to diamond. The barrage of light continues to progress. Gradually, it dissipates, ceasing to exist. The diamond mushroom had ceased its attack. It looks ahead for a moment. Then it throws its head back quickly. Now its eyes sport the coolest sunglasses in the region. To recharge its energy, it looks up, absorbing the sunlight. As it does this, the humans are still alive in the distance. But the warrior's hands and part of his sword were damaged. He's panting, thinking that if it weren't for the priestess's help, they all would have died. The tamer approaches him, concerned about his hands. He acknowledges her concern, having tried using potions, but none of them worked. Then the priestess stands beside him. Kneeling, she places her hands over the warrior's hands. Wings emerge from her back. They grow larger, scattering feathers around. She focuses intently on what she is doing. Her lips approach the crystallized part. She then kisses the crystal softly. This fills the warrior with hope. Slowly, both his hands and the sword return to their normal state. Watching this, the ninja is impressed by the capabilities of an S-level priestess. Finally healed, the warrior stands up. He feels even stronger than before, and the ninja remarks that in a team meant for defeating bosses, damage isn't the most important factor. The shooter warns them to get ready because the fight isn't over yet. As they talk, a shot approaches them. The bullet is dangerously close now. Reacting quickly, the warrior destroys it, stating that their enemies are already there. Everyone forms up, but they can't see any creatures. However, the shooter's keen hearing picks up something. He immediately fires in the direction of the sound. His bullets precisely collide with the incoming bullets. They explode in the air like bombs. In response, the ninja performs a series of hand signs, popularized by a boy in an orange jacket who liked a guy in a blue sweater. He finally completes the ritual. With his eyes glowing, he begins the magic detection process. He spots 3 distinct figures ahead. He alerts the others that the enemies are using stealth techniques and are approaching from the front. The mushroom samurai then unleashes a few slashes. The force and destructiveness of the attack cause the humans to scatter. The blonde says that each of them should focus on one enemy, and they all follow the instruction. The samurai tells them to fall back and block the path. They cannot allow them to get close to their king. With that, they retreat and initiate their counterattack. Facing the imminent attack, the ninja gets ready. He crouches to track the enemies. Prepared, he looks around intently. The samurai tells him to stop doing that because he's right there. The ninja immediately turns to face the creature. At the speed the samurai moves his sword, the ninja launches his dagger. As they exchange blows, the samurai wants to know why humans take pleasure in invading territories that aren't theirs. They aren't the first. They've been attacked by 5 different groups. The ninja has to step back a bit to protect himself. The strength of the samurai's attack also pushes him away. He grips his blade, standing firm. Looking at the ninja, he says that despite the invasions, the survival rate of the aggressors is 0%. At a distance, the ninja notices small cuts on his body. Taking a defensive stance, he assesses the extent of the damage. However, a green glow appears on his wounds. The priestess is healing the ninja. He looks at her and thanks her for the help. He says they are stronger than he expected, but with his team working together, their defeat is only a matter of time. What he doesn't notice is that the samurai has moved and is about to slice the priestess into pieces. To prevent this, the ninja throws several daggers in his direction. The samurai must choose whether to attack and die or defend himself. Wisely, he opts to defend against the daggers. Determination fills his eyes in battle. Another dagger is coming his way. Appearing near him, the ninja says not to run away as he is his opponent. Once again, they begin to exchange several blows. While he battles the samurai, the shooter lines up his shot. His goal is to keep his target fully distracted. He's about to pull the trigger, but Bo catches his attention. From behind him, she asks what he's doing, and in a panic, he says he will surrender. But her pistol fires mercilessly. A large hole is marked in the stone, but the body isn't normal. It was just a decoy that is now vanishing. Bo realizes what's happening. Behind her, some projectiles are already approaching. She jumps quickly to react, firing her pistols several times. She makes her bullets hit the ones coming her way. Her reaction time is excellent, and the shooter thought he could take her down from there. But Bo is also highly skilled. With one of her weapons, Bo shoots the ground. This gives her a boost forward, allowing her to continue firing. The gunslinger's attack is almost upon the human, but he narrowly dodges, avoiding the worst. This maneuver allows him to ready his rifle for a shot. With a clear aim, he fires. Unlike before, the shot hits the target directly. However, all he manages to do is destroy Bo's cigar. He can't tell if he overestimated himself or if she is slowed down. In the air, she uses her shots to maneuver. Once on the ground, she points her guns at the human, but there are already projectiles heading her way. Using the physics of flat Earth, she shoots the ground to launch herself into the air. The momentum is enough to make her spin uncontrollably. This way, she fires several shots while spinning. Even so, the human can track the trajectory of all her bullets. But unexpectedly, one of the bullets goes straight past the other. That instantly makes his heart race. The human has to react quickly to avoid getting his brain splattered. The swift reaction leaves him momentarily thoughtful. She had changed the type of bullets she was using to catch him off guard. Bo says that his firepower doesn't even compare to hers. Still in the air, she unleashes a massive barrage of shots. The piercing bullets head straight for the human. At that moment, he's lost in thought about firepower. Using magic, the tip of his rifle begins to change. His weapon is transforming. Now he has a rotary cannon similar to a machine gun, and he's eager to make her experience that firepower. Aiming at her, the bullets fly like a swarm of wasps. The sword warrior says he'll need to bother the priestess once again. He begins to strengthen himself before her, but the stone on her staff starts glowing vigorously. Various blessings are being bestowed upon him. As the priestess works, a mushroom mage is approaching her. Hidden, it's preparing its deadly magic. But the unexpected happens. A hairy hand reaches out toward it. Sensing the danger, the mage realizes he must act. He dodges the attack by a hair's breadth without revealing his position. The beast tamer sniffs the air. She says she caught his scent, and there's no way to hide. Knowing someone is there, she points to where he is. Surprised by her ability, the mage reveals himself. He says her trump card is the monster she keeps in her bag. Stepping down a bit more, he strikes the ground with his staff. A red tip begins to emerge from the soil. It grows quickly, revealing a massive body. That is the war mushroom, and he wants to see if the girl's beast can stop him. A protrusion at its tip begins to contract. It expels something akin to venom. Those organic projectiles are almost hitting their target. Patting the bag, the girl tells the beast it's time to eat. A snarling mouth emerges instantly. The wolf-like creature devours the goo. Afterward, it retreats back into the safety of the bag. The mage says she shouldn't feed her pet just anything, as what it ate was venom. This leaves her a bit puzzled. Inside the bag, the beast writhes. From its opening, a burp-like sound emerges. The mage wants to know what she'll do now without her creature's assistance. While he speaks, the wolf's hand lunges forward to strike. He has no idea how he's still alive. He summons a protective shield to avoid contact. Even so, the impact is strong. The beast continues to punch and the shield is already cracking. Beneath it, the mage trembles from the vibrations of the blows. Avoiding the worst, he detaches himself from the shield he had summoned. Even that powerful technique couldn't withstand the beast's brute strength. Before his eyes, the shield is almost entirely destroyed. Now the wolf's hand has pierced through it. Finally, it manages to strike the mage for the first time. The girl brags that her beast is accustomed to poisons made by the guild leader, and that this was nothing. Meanwhile, the warrior's power surges. His armor can no longer hold up. He struggles to control all that strength. But his muscles, blessed with the power of juice, grow so much from the magical boost that the armor has to give up. His sword shines with a golden aura. In front of him is the mage who was punched by the beast, and behind the mage, the diamond mushroom. Confident, he wants to seize the opportunity to cut down both with a single strike. Positioning his sword, he began his attack. He spun around his own axis several times. Then he threw his sword forward like a spear. The massive blade soared through the air, unstoppable. Its speed was so great that the ground beneath it split apart. It was only moments before the mage and the diamond mushroom would find out if God exists. Death was imminent for them. Unexpectedly, something happened before the impact. The sword was struck and ended up embedding itself in the ground. The mage felt useless, as the one who was supposed to protect him had left his throne to defend him. The Mushroom King had finally entered the battlefield. His expression was one of complete rage. Unimpressed, the warrior smiled at this. Stretching out his hand, he commanded the sword to return. The blade began to vibrate subtly, until it ripped from the ground with considerable force. In no time, it was back in his hand. To him, the king must be very strong indeed, as he had deflected the sword effortlessly. Provoking him, he said that the king was nothing more than a big fat mushroom. In another part of the battlefield, blades clashed fiercely. The battle between the samurai and the ninja progressed. After some time, the ninja realized something. They had already fought 93 rounds, and he had lost every one of them. Every time he was injured, the priestess healed him. It was great that she could do this, so he thought he could fight until the samurai tired. The mushroom advanced toward him with ferocity. The ninja thought he was going to attack the priestess and repeated that he was his opponent. Quickly, the samurai delivered an attack with his dual blades. The samurai acknowledged that he knew this and that his target was always the ninja. The strike was so fast that he couldn't even react. But the blow didn't fully penetrate his armor. He had been saved by the priestess, who made his skin as hard as stone. With the assistance of his companions, he didn't want to lose, but the wound on his chest grew larger, until it became too big, causing blood to gush from it. Even the priestess was hurt due to the strain. She needed to retreat a bit further. Her white robes were now stained with blood. On the ground lay the body of the ninja, subdued. Putting his hat back on, the samurai reminded him that he had already mentioned the survival rate of the invaders, which was an incredible 0%. In the other battle, the shooter's machine gun kept roaring. Grinning like a maniac, he asked if that was enough firepower for her. The bullet casings piled up on the ground. The situation made Bo rethink her approach. She holstered her pistol. With one of her hands, she tore a small piece of her cape. She squeezed the piece tightly, until it formed a small ball. Loading her weapon with it, she aimed and fired a single shot. That small projectile expanded into a net. Its strength was great enough to catch all the bullets. The shooter scoffed, saying it was useless, and that she'd make his life easier if she decided to die already. There was a shadow behind the ball that had caught the bullets. Thinking it was his opponent, he bid farewell, and fired again in that direction. But what remained after the shots was not a body. He realized he had fallen for a distraction. His sharp hearing picked up something. The grass had shifted due to an air disturbance. He knew he had to act quickly. He switched weapons once again, returning to the rifle he carried. With it on his shoulder, he fired a few more shots, skillfully blocking the bullets that were heading his way. Bo commented that she had hoped he'd be dead, and that he reacted very quickly for a human. He replied that he wouldn't be hit by the trash she was firing, but was intrigued by how she managed to get into his blind spot so quickly. Lighting a match, she said that powerful bullets and rate of fire aren't everything for shooters. That's a basic principle. The bullets had slowed because she was using fumble spores. Preparing to fire, he stated that they were in the middle of a battle, and that she talked too much. With a serious expression, she told him he should pay more attention to things. He finally realized something was off. In the grass around him, some objects were being set up. They were mushrooms with a peculiar shape. He couldn't even tell what those foolish things were, until one of them pressed the button on top of its head. All of them did the same, emitting an intense light. By the time he noticed, it was too late. The brightness blinded him momentarily. He needed to move away from there to regain his vision. Backing up, he hoped to recover his sight soon. Bo says that some mushrooms emit a beam of intense light as soon as they are born. The only sense he has left to defend himself is his hearing. Even though he can't see her, he can still hear, and he hopes she keeps talking. But he doesn't notice more mushrooms sprouting around him. This time, it's one that looks like it's filled with speakers. His hearing picks up their growth, but he can't tell what kind they are. A deafening sound blasts from them. The force of this sonic wave is enough to damage his eardrums. With his senses impaired, he has no idea where she is. Some mushrooms emit a deafening sound upon sprouting. Desperate, he covers his ears with his hands for protection. Trying to escape, he steps backward, moving away from the noise. He's completely disoriented by it. As he steps back, he accidentally steps on a specific mushroom. It begins to grow immediately. Its vigorous growth propels the human into the air. Part of her plan, he is bounced from one mushroom to another. Some mushrooms grow to extraordinary heights in an instant. After all this, he falls to the ground, still disoriented. But now, another variety of mushrooms surrounds him. He begins to open his eyes slowly. With his vision blurred, he realizes it's not just grass around him. Now that he can see a bit again, he tries to stay calm, knowing he only needs one good shot. Furious, he punches the ground with one of his hands. This causes the mushrooms around him to react. All he feels is rage at being overpowered by mere mushrooms. The ones in front of him begin making noises. They start to swell dangerously. From the tops of their heads, they release a dark orange cloud. The cloud is released by the others as well. They are explosive clouds, potentially deadly. The shockwave repels him, sending him crashing through several of them. These mushrooms sense the intentions of living beings. If they are friendly, they release healing spores, but if hostile, they explode. As he harbors hostile intentions, he triggers multiple explosions. He rolls through the grass until he is near Bo. Even so, she can't understand how pathetic humans think they can invade their kingdom. Lying on the ground, he sees her approach as an opportunity. He quickly gets up with his rifle, claiming that their hope comes from the monsters being dumb. But he can't pull the trigger. His finger is stuck. Watching the scene, Bo takes a drag from her cigarette. He's enraged, feeling like no matter where he goes, mushrooms know where he'll be. He can't even lift his feet from the grass. Those mushrooms are releasing a thick goo. His entire body is covered in it. As Boo approaches, she steps in the goo. She pulls her foot out, stretching some of the material, but it doesn't trap her, staying stuck to the ground. There are 40,000 types of mushrooms here, and none should be underestimated. Finally, she points her weapon at the hostile human. At that distance, there's nothing he can do. He looks at her, paralyzed with fear. Bo says there's only one type of human, the bad kind. Now she wants to know who he called trash earlier. With a single shot, his head is now inside out. Watching it all without blinking is the small mushroom. Mushrooms are indeed very strong, and he wonders if he'll be as strong as them if he evolves. But his eyes are focused on the king. Even though these are strong, they are merely subordinates. The king must possess immense power. In the distance, a small shadow appears near the king. He asks the piglet if it's his imagination or if there's really something there. A mysterious and eerie shadow looms over the battlefield. The warrior advances toward the mushroom king. The creature is furious with everything that has happened. He didn't like being belittled by a monster. It's unpleasant. He moves his neck from side to stretch. His muscles begin to pump up absurdly. The juice is taking effect. It's his heart pumping the venom through his veins. His arms tremble as they receive all that juice. His muscle mass is growing to a point that would make USADA lose their mind. The strength is so intense that it's almost causing his teeth to crack. A great power is building up. This is the battle spirit of the war general. A massive aura emanates from him, but the Mushroom King remains still. After all this display, only smoke lingers in the air. His muscles are so hot that they emit smoke. On his face is only a sinister grin typical of Trembo rage. His size is imposing and he feels much better this way. The two creatures stare at each other aggressively. He doesn't understand why the king didn't attack him while he was transforming. Maybe he learned chivalry from the humans, but he doesn't care as he won't hold back. All that's on the king's face is pure hatred. In the blink of an eye, they vanish. They clash and strike each other multiple times, much like that famous show where the protagonist constantly screams and changes hair color. The king's sword is maneuvered for a thrust. Mysteriously, his blade curved mid-attack, and it struck the sword of the muscle-bound warrior. However, he merely parried the blade as if it were nothing. This simple movement felt like it launched an attack. The force went straight toward the diamond mushroom. It wasn't cut, but the impact pushed it back. Even so, it only took a modest 1 point of damage. Expecting something like this, the warrior was impressed by its massive defense. He launched another attack, aiming to cut the king, but the creature defended against the strike with his saber. The force of the clash caused the weapon to bend like an elastic band. With a flick of his hand, the king released the elastic energy, deflecting the human's sword. He used the energy to redirect his sword back at the creature. A massive shock occurred between them. The ground bore the marks of the dissipated energy. Consumed by aggression, he demands that the king show him everything he's capable of. The sound of clashing blades fills the area. Some of the slashes extend beyond the battlefield. One of them heads toward the small mushroom and the piglet. For a brief moment, he felt his flesh being cut, but he reacted quickly, pushing the piglet and moving out of the way. They rolled across the ground after that. Just watching the fight was dangerous enough. He had almost died once again. An intense discomfort immediately surged in his head, but it soon passed, leaving him puzzled. The system screen appeared, indicating an urgent warning. An emergency mission had been triggered. If the Mushroom King only had this to show, the human was definitely unimpressed. Judging by the king's expression, he wasn't either. The attacks continued to collide non-stop. Elsewhere, the mage did his best to defend against the gross creature. He didn't know what kind of beast it was, but he wouldn't let it get close to the king. The shield he created held up bravely against the impact. Now, two of the creature's arms emerged from the girl's bag. She liked collecting mushrooms because they were cute, but she had no interest in the old one, as she disliked old things. The creature's claws advanced dangerously. The mage did everything he could, creating multiple shields to defend against the onslaught. At the tip of his staff, he began to concentrate something. He launched a ball of poison, which was blocked by the creature. Its skin was immune to magic. The girl remarked once again that those tricks were useless. All his magic was futile, and he hated the feeling of being outmatched. The girl wondered why the shooter and the ninja were taking so long, even with the priestess's help. She no longer wanted to waste time and instructed her creature to emerge. As a condition, it requested a dragon bone. This irritated her, as she knew it was prying into her belongings. While they argued, the warrior was panting heavily. Even at full capacity, he still hadn't dealt any damage to the king. With the blessings, his power had increased sevenfold, and according to the mission data, the Mushroom King was supposed to be around level 60. In response, the king raised his hand, inviting him to attack again. This infuriated the human completely. He didn't like being provoked by a monster like that, so he used 100% of his battle spirit. Such was his strength that when he jumped, he shattered the ground beneath his feet. Now in the air, he prepared for a powerful attack. The massive, muscular figure with no fear of needles advanced. Both hands gripped the sword's hilt firmly. His blade was raised above his head. On his face, there was only an expression of rage and lack of control. Finally, he unleashed his strongest attack so far. The king made his saber spin multiple times. The rotation speed increased gradually. The clash between them occurred, with the tip of the saber touching the sword. This deflected the attack. Using all his strength, he declared that any trick used against him was useless. But he finally realized something was wrong. The energy accumulated in the spinning saber was released, launching the human far away. He crashed into the diamond mushroom. The impact left him writhing in pain. The mountain of muscles leaned against the diamond wall. He had no idea how it happened. It was impossible that a level 60 monster could do all this. Now the Mushroom King was the one advancing for the attack. The king advances aggressively, and the warrior knows he cannot fall here. He uses his sword to defend himself. A large spray of blood is released. This unexpected scene leaves the small mushroom and the piglet surprised. The same expression appears on the tamer's face. The diamond mushroom has to look over his glasses to see what happened. The human's expression is one of total exhaustion, and the Mushroom King remains unimpressed. The sword was pierced by the saber, and the human lost an arm in the process. He coughs up blood from the wound. Falling to the ground with no strength left, he leans on his sword. Weakened and feeling the side effects of the trembo, his body begins to shrink, until he returns to his natural size. All that remains at the tip of the saber is a bit of blood. The king has defeated his adversary without even getting injured. Frustrated by his defeat, the warrior asks the king to at least end his suffering, but the creature remains still, doing nothing. He doesn't understand this behavior and starts to think that the king was just toying with him from the beginning. With no strength left, he collapses to the ground. The warrior's defeat changes the course of events. The tamer finally agrees to give her creature the dragon bone. Upon hearing this, even the creature is surprised. Grateful for her promise, it thanks to Master. Part of its snout begins to emerge from the bag. The mage knows he must contain this at all costs. At the tip of his staff, he begins to concentrate a massive poison ball. It grows larger and larger, and he knows it's useless against that monster. Still, he makes it grow even more, because now his target is the girl. She looks at the attack coming her way. A huge explosion occurs when the ball hits the target. It's the creature's arm that was hit. The mage watches, pondering what he can do. The tamer tells the creature it better resolve this situation because it will get a dragon bone. Not fully out of the bag, it tells its master to stay calm. Gently, it places the girl on the ground. Meanwhile, the mage stands there, observing everything. His expression is pensive, knowing the creature is immune to magic. With his staff, he conjures a protective shield. After that, he begins the standard mushroom attack, a charge. The massive creature slowly turns to face him. A powerful blow lands on the mage. His face is smashed from the sudden impact. Hitting the ground, a large crater forms from the impact. The beast bows before its master, saying that from this point on, it will handle things. In the blink of an eye, it vanishes. The massive figure is already behind the king. It prepares to strike with one of its paws. Facing the imminent danger, the king turns to face it. He maneuvers his saber to defend himself. But the beast's strength is immense, and the king is pushed against the ground. Continuing to exert pressure, it demands that the king apologize. Suddenly, its attack intensifies, driving the king into the ground below. Where the king once stood, there is now a massive crater. The cracks expand even further as the creature keeps pushing. Finally, it removes its paw from the spot and begins to howl as if it had won the battle. Far away, the small mushroom watches, frightened, while the piglet thinks about eating apples and the system screen seems frozen. All that remains is the destruction caused by the fight. A barrage of punches is unleashed by the monstrosity. It relentlessly pummels the ground beneath it. Then Bo and the samurai appear to aid the king. Even though they approach from behind, the beast manages to defend itself. Just two of its fingers are enough to stop the sword. With its other hand, it catches Bo's bullets. It demands to know where these two pests came from. The samurai states that they are now its opponents. Bo knows that this creature killed the fourth great mushroom general, Locke. Behind the girl, the priestess appears, using teleportation magic. With her are the bodies of the two who had fallen in battle. She says she will assist the tamer in this fight, but the tamer declines, saying her beast can handle them. The creature mentions it has killed many weak beings and doesn't usually remember their names. The samurai pulls his sword from the wolf's grasp while Bo fires a few more shots. But the beast is incredibly fast and vanishes, causing the attacks aimed at it to hit the ground instead. This leaves the samurai on edge. The same can be said for Bo. Before she even sees the creature, she is struck. This makes the samurai extremely worried. Behind the samurai, the wolf asks where he's looking. Immediately, it prepares to strike the mushroom, but the samurai already has his swords positioned. Before it can land the hit, he executes his attack. The slash moves through the air toward the wolf. A great impact follows. It's enough to push the creature back. It leaves a small cut on its hand, which surprises it. The three mushroom generals gather for the battle. Behind his samurai, the mage uses one of his spells. It's a magic detection spell extending throughout the area. The analysis spreads quickly, reaching the creature. Once it makes contact, he shares his senses with his companions. Knowledge is transmitted through the magic. Bo receives the information, and so does the samurai. Seeing their coordination, the beast smiles. Within a 50-meter radius, it can sense the beast's movements and relay them to his companions. Smirking at this, the wolf begins to move. Its silhouette starts to fade. Soon, there is nothing left where it once stood. Even with the magic, the three realize that it simply vanished. This is incomprehensible to the mushroom mage. The creature is moving rapidly, outside the range of his magic. By doing so, it gains even more speed. Suddenly, it executes one of its attacks, hitting its target. Bo and the samurai now stand back to back. He knows he needs help to win. Anxiety fills her expression. They are now surrounded by a powerful creature that moves rapidly. Before them, its claws start closing in. Bo raises her dual pistols to defend herself. Reacting quickly, she fires a series of shots at the wolf. On the other side, the samurai does the same, using his swords. The small mushroom realizes they are at a disadvantage and wonders just how strong this wolf must be. Once again, the system screen appears, alerting him of the emergency mission. But he wants to keep watching the fight, and the screen is blocking his view. An epic mission. He has encountered one of Golem's servants and must make it disappear. The reward includes a resurrection coin, a lottery ticket, and 200,000 experience points. These rewards are definitely excessive. Moreover, it doesn't seem like something he can complete right now. Using his hand, he pushes the system screen away. With a mission like that, he must be imagining things. All he wants is for his vision to be unobstructed because he has a show to watch. The samurai finally understands what's happening. What the wolf did was use its incredible skills to enter and exit the magical field. Bo knows that the wolf isn't even taking them seriously yet. Trembling, she knows that when that happens, they won't be able to keep up. Raiding the wolf asks if they understand the power gap. If they wish to stop him, they are painfully far from that outcome. Before they realize it, the samurai is struck. Almost simultaneously, the same happens to Bo. The force is so great that they are thrown far away. In the end, pawns will always be pawns. But he was once a king who was known as Lycan, ruler of the polar wastelands. a werewolf king of level 92. They were thrown far away coincidentally, near the mysterious figure. Both are badly injured, and Bo suggests that the samurai flee, but he won't leave her alone. The figure remains there beside them, and the small mushroom and the piglet observe everything. It seems they cannot see that shadow and can't tell if it is a human or a monster. Maybe it is the follower of Golem that the system warned him about. Looking at it, he used his evaluation skill. The mysterious creature started to be assessed. However, the system cannot do it. Whenever this went wrong, the system would say his level was too low. This time it simply returned an error. The creature seemed to sense something and looked in the direction of the mushroom. Noticing this, he felt frightened. Then the shadow vanished from where it was. To the mushroom's complete despair, it was now in front of him. The shadow stared at him intently, but he was paralyzed with fear. Faced with the potential danger, he began to sweat cold. In just an instant, it appeared before him. Looking to the side, he noticed the piglet didn't react as if she wasn't seeing it. Part of the shadow's cloak began to change shape. It had transformed into a large black blade. The mushroom realized his life was at risk. It approached his face. If he moved, he would die, but if he stayed still, he would also die. Faced with this, he didn't know what to do. As a last resort, he made a characteristic sound of mushrooms, repeating it several times and waving his small arms. Immediately, the shadow was confused. The mushroom now rolled on the ground, completely clumsy. The piglet that watched the combat was now distracted. She looked at her friend, who was acting like a normal mushroom, to avoid raising suspicion. Seeing that, she began to grunt playfully. Then she went over to him to play as well. She arrived all excited, blocking the mushroom's path. Her playing with him made the act even more convincing, because if he kept rolling alone, it could be too suspicious. She noticed the mushroom was mumbling something. He told her to push him towards the forest and away from the cliff. Looking at her, he asked if she understood. With her grunts, she said yes. But she started pushing in the opposite direction. Then she did it more and more vigorously. To the mushroom's complete despair, who couldn't even show his emotions, the shadow was still standing there, and the mushroom was now sweating cold. Trembling and terrified, he made mushroom sounds, and the piglet came up to him, licking him. But he remained terrified of the situation. The two continued interacting while the shadow watched them. After observing them for a few moments, they decided it was better to ignore them both. Floating, it returned to where the battle was happening. But there was a peculiar object in one of its hands. It was a bell, and it began to ring. Something was happening at the bottom of the hole made by the wolf. From within it, a faint smoke started to rise. A pair of eyes began to glow intensely. Along with that, the sky began to darken as if announcing a storm. Meanwhile, the wolf continued its massacre. The generals could no longer do much to resist. They were being beaten with no chance to react. After many blows, they were already badly wounded and tired. But the samurai realized his suffering wasn't over yet. A relentless barrage of blows approached them. Putting his swords in position, he prepared himself. Courageously, he jumped toward the attack, but the pressure was too much for him to do anything. Ahead, it seemed like the wolf was approaching slowly, but that's not what the samurai's intuition said, because the wolf was launching strikes that his eyes couldn't keep up with. Its speed and strength were far beyond the samurai's capabilities. The wolf only smiled at the weakness of its victims. Bo tore off another piece of her cloak and shot it toward the wolf. The fumble net advanced, ready to trap it. All it did was take a deep breath, blowing towards the approaching net. That was more than enough to destroy it. On the ground, different mushrooms began to grow. The one emitting light pressed the button on its head. Several flashes were emitted toward the wolf. It kept walking completely unfazed as it wasn't affected. It was then that it asked Bo if she hadn't noticed that it was blind. So far, none of their attacks had been able to do anything against the wolf. With that, it resumed its attack. But the samurai stepped in, blocking the strike with his swords. However, his strength was scarce, and he couldn't hold on for long. He ended up injured once again, spitting blood. Nevertheless, he managed to recover and land on his feet. Once together, they realize again that they are in danger. The immense barrage of blows heads their way. But this time, they have no strength left, and they simply close their eyes. A thunderous sound is heard by everyone there. It made them open their eyes once again, for they had not been hit. There was the king standing before them now. To protect his subjects, he placed himself in the way, getting injured in the process. His body is covered in huge wounds. The wolf looks at him, slightly surprised to know he is still alive. Faced with this, it will ensure that this time he does not leave alive. The generals behind him say they are still able to fight, but the king remains there, protecting them. The samurai says they are his subordinates and that they also watched him grow. They cannot leave him behind. The king reinforces his order with even more conviction. Hearing him, the samurai asks for forgiveness as this is an order he cannot obey, and calls Bo to attack with him. But she shoots her friend in the head. This way, he falls to the ground, unconscious. Now the samurai is completely out of combat. It's not ideal, but she had to do it. The wizard appears there, saying that in the end, it happened. Bo wants to know what he means by that. The wizard asks if she has ever heard of Golem, the demon king. She does not believe that this event is related to the legends. It is not a legend, and anyone who accepts Golem's power undergoes a process of demonization, losing their rationality and becoming his pawn. To protect them, the king made this pact with Golem. With no other options, he does the unthinkable to save his own. The wolf's snout catches a characteristic scent. It is the same mysterious energy he sensed when Fenrir, his younger brother, took his place as leader. He didn't want to revisit these memories, but if he's correct, he needs to end this quickly. The wizard tells Bo to take care of the king's legacy. The future of the mushrooms will depend on her and the samurai. Hearing this, she wants to know what the wizard is going to do. As a final act of care, he will send the two far away from there. From the ground, structures similar to pittles begin to emerge. They are surrounding the two mushrooms. That is a fungus that creates tunnels. With the tooth inside, it goes underground. The wizard served 3 generations of mushroom kings and wishes to accompany his king to the end. He is already very injured due to the attacks he suffered. In front of him, the wolf is determined. This time, it prepares a devastating attack. one it hasn't used in combat yet. Even injured, the king remains ready to fight. With all its power, the wolf executes a strike worthy of a king. Its powerful hand advances to obliterate the mushroom. The shockwave spreads across the plain. This makes the wizard worry about the king. It has been a long time since the wolf needed to use this attack. However, its nostrils pick up a peculiar scent. It has no idea how this is possible. That peculiar magic is growing stronger. The king's body undergoes changes. He no longer looks like a mushroom. There are several eyes on his head, and his mouth is full of teeth. Tentacles emerge from his body in all directions. That is the form of the fallen Mushroom King. The demonization was complete. He extends one of his tentacles. It goes directly to where the mushroom wizard is. For him, it is an honor to become the king's strength. The tentacles completely envelop him, and they begin to absorb the old wizard's body. All that remained of him was the staff he used. At the top of the king's head is still his crown. His head begins to open, revealing something. The creature starts walking towards the wolf. Wherever he passes, he leaves a trail of corruption. Looking at him, the wolf starts growling, and it kicked the creature's head with force. Indeed, it is the same feeling he had before, but this creature is very slow. He can simply tear it apart. This time, he strikes the face of the corrupted mushroom. He continues to fiercely attack his enemy. His speed is really advantageous in combat. His movements are too fast, and he believes this will be the end. Then he brought his hands together. Like a spear, he lunged toward the mushroom. It was his final move. He was getting closer and closer to the mushroom. Unexpectedly, it turned towards the wolf. Opening its large mouth, it began to inhale. A large amount of air was sucked in by it. It then released a great quantity of corrupted spores. The wolf saw that malicious mist. It made him have to abort his attack. He quickly stomped the ground to gain momentum, leaping away from the spore mist. His fur is resistant to magic. As long as he covers his snout and eyes, the spores pose no danger to him. But then he feels something wrong with his body. Cancerous mushrooms spread across one of his paws, consuming his life. It was the wound the samurai had left on him. Thinking quickly, he bit his paw. He tore it off from his body, avoiding the worst. He watches the paw on the ground, which still has mushrooms on it. To his surprise, that didn't stop the infection from spreading further. In response, he removed what was left of his arm. But the infection continued to spread even more throughout his body. Desperate, he calls for his master's help. She runs toward him to assist. The creature's condition leaves her in despair. They run toward each other, but the wolf is overtaken by mushrooms. Almost out of strength, he begs her to save him. Opening her bag, she asked him to return quickly inside. Immediately, he does so, retreating to a safe place. Inside, she can use her mana to heal him, and she promised to ask the guild leader for help in curing him. Looking in her bag, she notices something happening. Even inside, the wolf doesn't stop thrashing around. He thrashes more and more, and she doesn't know what's happening. Her mana is decreasing uncontrollably, until her bag explodes with mushrooms flying everywhere. The wolf's body is completely taken over by the infection. There's nothing the beast tamer can do. She tries to approach him in tears, but she ends up losing consciousness. Her body falls to the ground. She can no longer fight. The priestess encloses her in a magical bubble, ensuring she is removed from the battlefield. The priestess strives to take everyone away from there. The corrupted mushroom notices what's happening. It then extends its tentacles for the humans. In the face of the attack, the priestess does her best to defend herself. The sphere containing the beast tamer is almost caught by the mushroom king. Before this could happen, the monster starts to catch fire. This saved the priestess at the last moment. Finally, the last one joined the battle. After his team was practically on the brink of death, he thought it would be nice to participate. The fire mage ordered everyone to head to the airship while he took care of the rest. He is confident that with him, things will be different. The priestess, who is native, wants to stay, but the mage insists that she take everyone out. Without much resistance, she obeys the man's order. As they ascend to the sky, the mage descends to fight. The creature observes that different human, while the mage, who must have seen everything, is not impressed. Once again, the corrupted mushroom begins the process of inhaling air. This time, it puts even more effort into it, sending a large volume of spores toward the mage. But there's a barrier completely surrounding him, extending beyond his body. When the spores touch it, they are immediately consumed by the fire magic. None of them manage to reach the mage. This left the mushroom surprised, as it was not the outcome it expected. One of his former servants is still there, the diamond mushroom. It sends its tentacles toward the creature, intending to absorb it. The poor diamond mushroom doesn't understand what is happening. Immediately, the corrupted mushroom starts pulling its servant toward it. Its strength is enough to pull it out of place. It flies directly to where the Mushroom King is. Its intention was not to absorb it, but to throw it directly at the fire mage. A small mushroom saw this and was incredulous at the strength of the corrupted one, who threw that massive creature into the air effortlessly. But it ended up speaking in the process, which made the shadow look at it. This made it anxious, as it doesn't want to attract the attention of this monstrosity. So it returned to imitating an ordinary mushroom. In response, the shadow completely ignores it once again. In the battle, the diamond mushroom advances dangerously toward the fire mage. Opening one of its hands, small sparks begin to emerge from it. A creature was summoned, and as it yawned, it asked why it was brought there. It was still waking up and seemed disoriented. Without introduction, the mage sent it toward the danger, causing it to scream and panic. Now aware of the situation, it says that this stupid human always summons it this way, with no prior warning or explanation. Powerful flames begin to envelop the diamond mushroom. It is already surrounded by the magic of that fire spirit. In response, she gives only one order, for it to be incinerated. The intensity of the flames increases drastically, consuming the mushroom. There's nothing it can do, and continues to be incinerated. With this, she obtained 2 diamond mushroom eyes, excellent raw material for making magical items. With the task completed, the fire spirit says the human is too stupid and starts kicking his face. He makes her disappear. Her attack is effective, but the little one is too annoying. Behind him, a mass of corrupted mushrooms suddenly appears. The Mushroom King smiles in a terrifying manner. He had managed to climb up there by making mushrooms proliferate. Now closer, he leaped toward the fire mage. An opening appears in his abdomen. It reveals itself as a second mouth, enormous and ready to swallow the human in one gulp. Quickly, the mouth closes, swallowing the mage at once. With him inside, the corrupted mushroom falls to the ground. In the distance, the evil shadow just watches what's happening. Slowly, the monstrosity rises with a sinister look. It walks slowly across the battlefield. There's a lot of smoke in the area, and it believes it has won the fight. What it did not expect is that its interior would start swelling. It seems the mage is still alive. It looks at itself, apprehensive, while its body continues to swell from the inside. With its body trembling, it can no longer walk and tries to do something. But the swelling is already uncontrollable, larger than its body's original size. After enduring the pressure for a while, it explodes with its pieces flying everywhere. Amidst the viscera is the mage who used his phoenix rebirth technique, and next to him is the Mushroom King's crown. With the battle over, he grabs the object in his hands. The outcome of this battle is the diamond mushroom eyes and that crown. Even so, the tentacles still move from what remains of the body. A level 60 monster forced him to use his greatest trump card. He is relieved no one saw this. With his items in hand, he ascends to the sky, distancing himself from what remains of the mushroom. Looking down, he intends to eliminate any evidence of the battle. Up above, the sky twists as if a storm is brewing. Fiery stones begin to fall from the sky, like a meteor shower. All of this is being washed by the small mushroom, who is now truly anxious. Everything on the ground is completely destroyed and consumed by fire. The evil shadow sighs in disappointment. This was not the outcome it expected. Then, in the same mysterious manner it appeared, it left. Beside it is the mushroom, hoping it really has left. Alone, he nudges the piglet, saying she needs to wake up quickly so they can leave. She slowly opens her eyes. Having missed most of the battle, she doesn't know what happened. That's when they realize the meteor shower is happening. With their tiny feet, they try to flee the area. When they hit the ground, they produce explosions, and the impact wave from one of them throws them far away. He cannot understand how this is possible. There is no way they can escape something like this. Everywhere he looks in the sky, there are meteors falling. In response, the piglet bites his hat. Full of determination, she intends to save her friend. She immediately starts digging with all her strength. It doesn't take long before they are underground. Outside, destruction occurs and fire spreads across the landscape. The destruction appears relentless. The corrupted mushroom had no chance of winning the battle. The entire kingdom has now become a vast sea of fire. There is nothing in the area that can escape the fate of turning to ashes. The destruction spreads through the flames. Gradually, even the largest mushrooms ignite, turning into nothing but ashes. Everything is being destroyed. However, something happens from within the rock. Two balls of earth begin rolling down the slope. When they hit the ground, they start to crack from the impact. Inside each one of them were the mushroom and the piglet, who were almost cooked. Both are disoriented by what happened. The system notifies them that they have reached the Mushroom Kingdom. Immediately, both level up, having their lives restored. Now clear-headed, he contemplates all the destruction in terror. What was once colorful and full of life is now just a barren wasteland. With a single spell, the fire mage destroyed the entire kingdom. Even so, the piglet's stomach rolls in hunger. It wasn't that the monsters were too weak, but rather that the humans were too powerful. As the piglet nudged him, he pushed her with one of his hands. The scene made him think about something. Even if he were the Mushroom King, it would still be useless against a powerful human. The system gives him another mission to find an evolutionary path in the Mushroom Kingdom. Desolate with everything he sees, he no longer wants to do missions. But the system reminds him that completing missions is the fastest way to become stronger. Seeing the message, he stands up. He looks at it thoughtfully. He no longer wants to evolve. Now he is determined. In response, the system asks what he desires. The small mushroom clenched his fist resolutely. He now wants to be a brave mushroom. Far from all the destruction, an object falls from the sky near a tree. It's the mushroom containing the samurai and the gunslinger. Once on the ground, the structure begins to open. Inside are the two of them, still very exhausted from the battle. The samurai tries to stand up, still coughing heavily. He had made a vow to serve the king until the day of his death, but now they no longer have a king to serve. Angry, he thinks about returning to their kingdom. In response, Bo slaps him on the face. Cage is still very troubled and doesn't know what to think. They are there because of the king's wish, and his sacrifice cannot have been in vain. But without the king, he doesn't know what to live for now. Furious, he punches the ground in frustration. They remain there in silence for a moment. They are still very weakened from the fight, and Bo goes to sit by the tree. She says that even if Cage wants to die, he should do so after they complete their mission. She blows the smoke from her cigar. Then she reaches into her pocket to take out an object. In her hand, there's something emitting a golden glow. They need to fulfill their king's last wish. It is the king's legacy. Whoever receives the recognition of the legacy will have the right to become king. That's what they should do from now on. Seeing that, Cage gathers the strength to stand. Bo is right, their mission is far from over. The two look to the horizon, hoping the future will bring them better days. Meanwhile, the small mushroom faces a problem. The system has encountered an error because monsters cannot change classes. He rides through the forest on the piglet, and the system continues displaying the same message. Tired of the repeated notification, he asks if the system can show the map because he wants to know how far they are from the beginner's village. The system then shows them their location. They have traveled for an entire day, and if the map is correct, they should arrive with one more day of travel. After that, the error message reappears. He says he will go to the village to take a look. He won't change classes, and the system could stop sending that message. Hearing this, the screen disappears from in front of him. The piglet keeps walking, feeling very hungry. But he is determined to try changing classes, and he says that if the piglet is hungry, he has plenty of stamina potions. He orders her to move at full speed, as they will soon arrive. At the source volcano, lava flows everywhere. Lava explosions happen constantly. They expel a lot of material that falls dangerously to the ground. Some small creatures there begin to flee the danger. The stones hit the ground hard. This causes part of their exterior to crack. They have a peculiar shape, as if they are liquid inside. Once on the ground, they start to tremble. In fact, they are monsters with lava bodies. With its huge jaws, one bites into a lava boulder and promptly swallows it as if it were a snack. Its body absorbs the material. This is a level 52 lavaconda. They eat lava and molten rocks to expand their bodies, excellent raw material for fire resistance. The snakes look to the sky as more rocks are expelled from the volcanoes. High above, the guild's airship flies. They are approaching the guild headquarters, located in the middle of that extreme environment. The incandescent stones do not hit the buildings as there is a protective barrier. It extends throughout the base, preventing anything hostile from entering. But the airship passes through it without difficulty. As it crosses the barrier, a sound alert echoes throughout the base. The ship is now properly docked. The wounded are being collected, and the fire mage is heading to what appears to be the main building. He takes a few steps to enter the huge hall. It looks like he is going to present himself to someone. This causes footsteps to be heard. A child is excited that he has already returned. Big brother Gilham has finally come back. Curious, he asks if the mage managed to retrieve what they wanted. This is Balin, a level 119 poison master. The mage places his hand on his chest as if in salute, presenting him with the Mushroom King's crown. The boy takes the crown in his hands. He is very happy to have finally obtained it. The crown is finally his, and he is overjoyed. Before him, the fire mage wants to know where the thing he was promised is, but the boy is too busy celebrating, so he puts the crown down on the ground. Reaching into his pocket, he says it's right there. He searches for a bit until he finally finds it. It is the medicine he made for the priestess, a small vial with blue contents. But being clumsy, he lets it slip from his hand. He struggles to keep the vial from falling to the ground, until it ends up flying through the air. But the fire mage manages to catch it and prevent it from hitting the ground. He told him that all the bodies were sent to his lab as requested. The boy thanks the mage for everything. He leaves, storing the medicine in his inventory. With that, he returns to admiring his crown. He finally has it for himself. It truly is a wonderful day. As he leaves, he comments about the demonization of the Mushroom King, because he wants to know if that was also part of the guild leader's plans. Hearing this, he stops playing with the crown. A sinister smile spreads across his face. The mage waits to hear his response so he can leave. It was as if the boy had wanted to hear that, but he pretends to be ignorant of the matter and asks what he is talking about. That wasn't the answer the mage wanted to hear, and he continues to leave, saying that if they need him, they just have to call. Outside, he meets the priestess and tells her that he has the medicine and that they can leave. They take a few steps from there, but she asks them to stop for a moment. Many people died during the mission because of her, but they only went there because the mage asked, and they will leave as soon as they find a way to remove the poison from her body. As for the hard part, he will handle it. The guild leader walks with his crown. He walks down a path lit by candles. At the end of the corridor, he descends a massive staircase. He continues down his path, humming a tune, until he finally arrives in another chamber. He walks along a path filled with lava. This is an altar, Golem's heart. Before it, he presents the Mushroom King's crown. The boy is quite pleased with this. Then he throws the crown as a sacrifice to the altar. The Mushroom King's crown falls into the lava. The boy watches as it is consumed. The item melts from the intense heat, until only bubbles remain from the material being melted. With this, the lava begins to rise along the wall of the altar. He observes all this with great joy. A figure carved into the stone is filled with lava, until there is no more empty space. He had finally completed another piece of it. He had already obtained the Cat Queen's eyes. And now, the Mushroom King's crown and the mysterious shadow materializes behind him. Only one last ingredient is missing to complete everything. The heart of true love, and after that, Golem's power will be his. Immediately, a strong tremor shakes the place. The entire guild reverberates with a sudden earthquake. It is so strong that even the lava rivers are stirred. 2 days have passed since then, and the mushroom continues his journey. But he is very pensive about everything. They encounter various monsters, and his luck is that the piglet is faster, not to mention that since the error, the system has stopped responding. The mission interface is stuck on the current one. However, he can still interact with some buttons, so he can see his skill panel, as well as view his inventory. He wanted to use decomposition to absorb something, but the mage burned everything. Only the werewolf king's skin remained. Just thinking about everything he lost fills him with rage. He had to wait a few days there to absorb the mage's staffs and the wolf's skin. The staffs were quite damaged and only granted 100 experience points. Not to mention that he couldn't do anything with the wolf's skin, which is resistant to magic. He should try again when his skill level is higher. He just wasted time, which made him very angry. As he pondered, he felt the piglet trembling. He finally asks his friend if something is wrong. She collapses to the ground as if disoriented and dizzy. Not knowing what happened, he uses his evaluation on her. There is nothing specific showing up that helps him understand the situation better. The evaluation allows him to see the other monster's abilities. Everything seems fine with the piglet. He doesn't understand why she fainted. He tries to wake her up, offering stamina and health potions, but it's the apple in front of her that causes an unexpected reaction. With her stomach growling, she rushes towards the fruit. The piglet seems overly excited. Asking if she's feeling better, he told her to hold on a bit longer, as they were almost there. He opens the system's map. According to the indicator, they have already passed the halfway point. They are now very close to the village. Since there are snails around, they might be even closer than they think. Now that they are close, he wonders if that item will work. It's a teleport scroll. He orders it to be activated to take them to the village. This causes the item to disappear and consumes 20 mana points. A magic circle forms beneath them. The energy begins to emanate, but soon it becomes sparks, and the circle that appeared starts to slowly disappear. The system notifies him that monsters cannot use this item. Last time it said they were too far away, and now it says that monsters cannot use the item. Without responding, he returns to the open mission. But he doesn't want to do this mission. He is determined to become a brave. Even if they can't use the scroll, he doesn't mind, as he's not in a hurry. He can only imagine that it's the perfect place to gain experience by taking down the newbies. He pats the piglet to keep moving, but she doesn't respond to that and remains still. Seeing this, he asks if she's okay and if she wants another health potion. He asked her to hold on a bit longer, as he would soon solve her problem, but he didn't know they were being watched. Those are the pigs that belong to her herd. The leader looks at the piglet intently. After walking for a while, they come across the portal where the newbies emerge. The mushroom hides in the bushes and the piglet is there, unconscious. Looking at the object, he used his evaluation skill. It's a portal that leads to the village created by the 6 original Braves who sealed Golem, and it teleports people when they are in critical danger. That's why the players didn't die when he defeated them, but now he just has to wait for them to arrive. Soon, the interior of the portal begins to glow, and a player's hand emerges from it. The children are excited, eager to level up and defeat the snails. A little girl holds a stone in her hand, ready to kill them. With one strike, she makes the snail's eyes pop off its face. A boy says his father hired bodyguards, so he's not afraid of them, destroying the monsters with the spear he wields. A level 12 boy with swords said he would ensure their safety. Meanwhile, another one who manipulates fire says even the big snail is no match for them. Coming out of his hiding spot, the mushroom makes his appearance. He moves towards the snotty kids. Close to them, he uses his spore explosion. The children begin coughing from the mist. This is the perfect distraction for him. Using his charge, he starts pummeling the kids, only receiving the resulting experience points. With that warlord there, no one will bother the snails. He flies towards the boy with the bodyguards. They are promptly beaten by him, leaving only experience points to be collected. But that's too little to continue progressing. As he thought about this, more children emerge from the portal. Even if it's little experience, there are many of them there. The girl wants to be quick before the snails escape. As soon as they arrive, the kids wonder where those who came before them went. Then they start getting beaten by the mushroom. The second wave of newbies was wiped out, granting 630 experience points. With the third wave, another 540 points. They begin to flee, as there is a dangerous mushroom there. They try to climb the platform so that he won't follow, but the kids are just fools. Still on the ground, he looks at those who manage to climb. They don't know what the mushroom is doing there, but they are confident he won't climb. But he is strong enough to jump up to them. The children are terrified by this. Finally, in the fourth wave, granted 720 experience points. Night falls in the forest and he starts a campfire. Then he offers dinner to his friend, a health potion. She looks at the small vial, but she refuses to consume it. This unusual behavior makes him ask if she's not hungry. Looking at her status, there's nothing wrong. Everything seems normal, so there shouldn't be anything wrong with her. Since she carried him these past days, her stamina must be low, but he will take care of gaining experience for both of them. Unable to sleep, he continues looking at the system. Now he's checking his own stats. He's already at level 18 after a day of farming newbies. Soon, he'll reach 20. His stamina is low, but since he's tired, he'll take the potions the next day. Leaning against the piglet to sleep, he says goodnight to her. She's very sleepy and hardly reacts, but she stares at her friend for a moment. Her vision becomes blurry from exhaustion, until she starts imagining grilled mushroom. That would definitely be a wonderful meal. Thinking that he is cooked, she tries to take a bite of him, but she realizes what she's doing. She shakes her head in denial. She wouldn't do that to her friend. With her mouth watering, she tries to go back to sleep. The two are close to the campfire, but her stomach keeps growling. Far from there, they are being watched by the other pigs. The leader is furious about the situation. His eyes shine with the image of the piglet and the mushroom. The day finally dawns and no newbies have shown up yet. However, he soon notices that they are arriving. The children emerge apprehensively, knowing that there was a scary mushroom there the previous day. They don't want to get hurt, but one boy steps out of the portal, calling them cowards. By the village's request, they came to protect the newbies. It's strange to see a mushroom here, even though the monster waves have already stopped. They heard that a guild destroyed the entire mushroom kingdom and its king, so this must be just a stray mushroom. One of them heard that the guy with the axe once fought the mushroom king. Indeed, it happened, and to let his companions escape safely, he stayed to fight. He said the king was weak, which might be why the guild destroyed him. Observing those humans, the mushroom uses his evaluation skill. There are 2 level 17 and 1 level 23. It's risky, but he needs to do something. With the right strategy, he and the piglet can defeat the 3 of them. He tells her that they will attack one by one and that she should wait for his signal, but the piglet sings out of it. So he uses his spore cloud. As they were told, the mushroom releases spores to block the victim's vision before starting his attack. One of the children asks what they should do, but the mushroom strikes without mercy. Amidst the mist, he continues taking down the newbies. One of them says they should stick together because the mushroom is not weak. The bald one asks if they shouldn't save the newbies, but the leader says they are just bait. Indeed, the reward for defeating the mushroom is greater than that for protecting the newbies. Finally, he notices that the mushroom is heading toward them. The bald one tries to defend himself with his shield, but it's useless. Not only is it shattered, but he is also harshly struck by the monster. This sends him flying far away. Now there's one less to deal with. Surprised, the long-haired one didn't expect the mushroom to be so strong. Amidst the mist, the piglet positions herself to attack. She is determined to help her friend, but her stomach rolls incessantly, causing her to lose strength to react. One of them starts moving his axe rapidly, producing a wind current that blows the mist away. With a clear view, he sees the piglet lying on the ground. This makes him happy, knowing that her meat is an expensive ingredient. The long-haired one charges forward, prepared to finish off the piglet. He is determined to defeat the monster. The tip of his spear is dangerously close to her, but the mushroom isn't just standing there. He strikes the long-haired one violently, telling him to stay away from the piglet. The blow is powerful, sending him flying. Lying on the ground, he admits that the mushroom is indeed very strong. He then takes a health potion to recover. The strongest of them tells the weakest to leave since he's getting in the way, but the long-haired one insists that he can be useful. In response, the mushroom asks the piglet to get up as the enemies are approaching. She doesn't respond, which makes him ask what's been going on with her lately. Her eyes shine as she looks at the small mushroom. That soft backside is magnetic to her. Once again, her vision starts to blur, causing her to confuse reality and see the mushroom completely grilled. This puts the piglet in a trance. The human thinks his companion doesn't consider him capable of handling the two monsters, but he will show him something as he draws out an item. The long-haired one asks what it is. It's his secret weapon, the Berserker Potion. He then starts drinking the potion, ready to unleash destruction. Immediately, his level begins to rise without stopping. The small mushroom watches everything anxiously. Things just got even harder. Even if it only lasts for 10 minutes, it's more than enough to deal with him. The human is now at level 38. This is unexpected, and the mushroom is forced to use his trump card as well. He immediately starts fleeing and asks the piglet to follow him. But the human won't make it easy for him and cracks the ground with a swing of his axe. The tremor it produces causes the mushroom to lose his balance. With them falling to the ground, earth structures begin to rise. The small mushroom is frightened by this. Both he and the piglet are now surrounded. The wall that is formed is too high for him to escape, and inside, the humans are with them. This situation is completely unfavorable. Prepared to finish them off, the human hesitates, wondering whether to kill the piglet first or crush the mushroom. He steps back, thinking about what to do, while the humans eagerly anticipate collecting the mission's reward. Meanwhile, the piglet continues to think the mushroom is a big piece of food. Hunger drives her into a frenzy. Grunting uncontrollably, she plans to have a snack. Minutes pass with them trapped inside, and someone shouts desperately for the monster not to come closer. Suddenly, the walls are shattered by an overwhelming force. One of the humans likely won't survive his injuries. He falls to the ground with the area completely devastated. His dying body is teleported away. The other one doesn't understand how he was overpowered even after drinking the Berserker Potion. The piglet steps on his stomach furiously. On top of his body, she grabs his clothes with her mouth. She then shakes him from side to side as if he were a pillow, until she decides to toss him far away. The human's body lands among the trees. Unable to withstand the injuries, he is teleported back to the village. Winning the battle, the mushroom reaches level 21. The piglet is now at level 20. This leaves him speechless, as he never imagined she would be so strong. Now only the two companions remain in the clearing, but the piglet's gaze is still intimidating, causing the mushroom to fill with fear as he doesn't understand why she's looking at him that way. With her mouth watering, she turns to the little one. She is determined to satisfy her hunger. Trying to figure out the situation, he uses his evaluation on her to see if something is wrong. Her satiety is at 0, putting her in berserker mode and granting her an additional 500 attack points. In this mode, she loses health constantly and has no rationality. He finally realizes that the potions didn't solve the piglet's hunger. Walking backward, he asks her to stay calm as he will find something she can eat. But the piglet has already found her meal. Sweet and cold, he doesn't want to believe the piglet is going to eat him. She leaps towards him, ready to have her snack. Not wanting to find out what she'll do, the mushroom runs too. Now he's desperately running from an enraged, starving pig. However, he manages to dodge the first charge and she hits a boulder instead. Even so, he has to keep running from the piglet. He doesn't know what to do. If he gets hit, it's over, but his friend's health is depleting. The more time passes, the hungrier she gets. The potions work well for him. If he had known, he would have collected food for her. Then he stumbles upon a mountain of apples. This definitely seems suspicious, but behind him is a starving pig who doesn't care about anything else. This is his chance to get the piglet to eat something. The enraged animal charges at the mushroom. He manages to dodge the direct attack, causing the piglet to fall into the pile of apples. From a distance, he observes the fruits for a moment. The small mushroom is very nervous. Then he sees the top of the pile moving. He watches closely to see how his friend is doing. The fruits keep moving. The piglet finally reveals herself, her sanity restored. With her eating and back to normal, the mushroom breathes a sigh of relief. He's willing to wait for the piglet to eat until she's satisfied, but he wonders who helped him. After she's had enough to eat, they return to the portal. His goal is to infiltrate the village and find out the requirements for changing classes. He walks for the portal, but the leader pig continues spying on them. Even from the shadows, the chief pig has taken down several humans just to protect the two clueless ones. The mushroom feels a chill in his stomach and his hands tremble with anxiety. He's almost entering a beginner's village. He thinks it's only filled with newbies and that once inside, he will be the most dangerous creature. Full of confidence, he crosses the portal. Soon, he bumps into something that was there. It's a sign warning of imminent danger. The entire area around the portal is fenced off. The fences extend all over the place. Then a piece of paper flying in the wind hits his face. It's like a leaflet. Looking at its contents, he becomes terrified. It's a warning about dangerous monsters that have been sighted in the area. Stunned, he doesn't know how that's possible. Reading the message, he starts to sweat. The language of that world is the same as the one he's used to. Maybe it's a side effect of being transmigrated. He's always been able to understand what humans say. So he continues his path toward the village. Through an opening in the wall, humans enter and exit. It's a considerable flow of people protected by armed guards. High above, birds fly, and on the ground, people walk happily. But that is not an ordinary bird. It begins to screech and swoop toward the humans. It's a high-level monster. Terrified, the people run inside the village. A child is almost about to become bird food. Before the worst can happen, it is destroyed by a barrage of arrows. The small mushroom, witnessing all this, is scared. The sentinels are definitely very powerful. He forgot that it's customary for villages and cities to have guards who are nearly invincible. Now he needs to rethink his strategy. Meanwhile, the piglet hugs an apple with affection. Seeing this, he comes up with a brilliant idea. People are commenting that many dangerous monsters have been appearing around here, and even a level 40 warrior was defeated. Among them, there is a peculiar figure with an apple at the end of a wand. The mysterious figure is almost passing through the gates, but one of the guards orders them to stop. The person hesitates at the command, but the guard warns about the fines for improperly discarding trash and reminds him to dispose of the apple correctly. Without responding, the mushroom stands still, with his mustache made of the piglet's fur. They are using wizard robes as a disguise, and the wand with the apple serves to guide the piglet. He feels like a genius of disguise. Walking a little further, they reach the village center. There is a shop that sells potions, as well as a blacksmith who crafts weapons. There's even a kiosk selling grilled monster meat. and a large library. He had only seen all this in games, and seeing it in person is a completely different feeling. Now they need to find a place where they can gather information about changing classes. They continue walking among the people until they see a small gathering of humans. He decides to approach and see what's gathering them there. They are all reading a notice about the presence of dangerous monsters outside the village. To change class, they need 10 shells, each from the red, blue, and green snails, and 1 shell from the big snail. He remembers hearing something about the big snail's shell. The children complain that with the monster outside, only the rich will manage to change classes, since the snail shell costs 50 coins. There's nothing they can do, as the class change ceremony will take place later in the afternoon. They are upset about this, and even a level 60 player is being sought to deal with a monster. One boy says that this is no ordinary mushroom. It is intelligent and full of skills. Hearing this, he understands why fewer people are showing up and is grateful he didn't encounter the level 40 player. The divine tree will release the class-changing energy later in the afternoon. Wanting to leave, he moves the apple, but the piglet ends up stumbling. Now both are exposed without their disguise among the humans. Immediately, the mushroom panics as they have been revealed. Some people walking by look at him. Even those who are working take notice. Terrified, he curls up and closes his eyes. If the sentinels were called there, the mushroom would be in trouble. However, people continued walking as usual, and they were completely ignored. People assume they must be pets of some very wealthy person, as mushrooms and that type of pig are quite expensive. Realizing he wasn't attacked, the mushroom noticed there were more monsters around. A snail carries backpacks for a woman. A candle cat walks on its owner's back, and other monsters are present in the village. If he's seen as a pet, things become much easier. A well-known cap is on a boy's head. He moves forward with his characteristic team, and the mushroom decides to follow him. In line, he tries to attract as little attention as possible. Then, looking to the side, he spots something interesting. A sign points to the village chief's house. He calls the piglet to follow him. The two leave the company of the other creatures. In the middle of the open field, they head to a rock. Properly hidden, he tells the piglet that their objective is just ahead. 2 players pass by them, talking about the promotions often available in the stores there. They also plan to join a guild soon to progress more easily. One of them regrets not becoming a priest, as guilds are always recruiting them. But as tamers, they shouldn't think that way, since the 3rd strongest in that place is a tamer. Even angels and demons are subdued by him. These are creatures that other classes avoid, and the boy says that for them, reaching such a high level might be impossible. Listening to the conversation, the mushroom becomes curious about the existence of angels and demons in this place. He points it at the village chief's house as it brings back nostalgic memories, but they no longer give missions there, so he became curious about the people gathering in front of it. One of them then remembers that today is the day of the class change ceremony. That's exactly what the mushroom wanted to hear. Continuing the conversation, the boy recalled that they promised to be excellent tamers, and his friend says he's doing well, as he even has a tamed mushroom and pig. But the boy thinks his friend is joking, as those monsters are not his. They exchange a brief look. They immediately look back to see the mushroom and the piglet, but they had already disappeared. In front of the house, several children are lined up. They are anxious because the ceremony should have started an hour ago. Then the door slowly begins to open. An elderly figure appears, holding a staff made from snail shells. He apologizes for accidentally oversleeping. He's broccoli, and he congratulates the children, as by completing the mission, they are closer to becoming a true brave. Out of respect, they greet him and bow. He then asks everyone to go inside. The doors are open and the children start entering. At the end of the line is the mushroom, in his disguise. The old man seems quite senile. It won't be hard to get past him. The elderly man then asks if he is the last one. Placing his staff in front of the path, he asks him to wait. This makes the mushroom wonder if the old man noticed something. He says that food is not allowed inside the house. He extends his hand for the apple to be handed over, so he takes it for himself. Inside the disguise, the piglet becomes furious. Holding her ears, the mushroom tries to calm her down. Without the apple, it's much harder to direct the piglet on which path to follow. He struggles to keep her moving in a straight line. Reaching the hall, he is met with a scene that leaves him surprised. It is the divine tree, and it is enormous. Surrounding it are several books, and its branches fill the entire space. From outside, he hadn't imagined the interior would be so majestic. On the trunk, it looks as if a woman is carved into the tree. All the children are admiring the majesty of the place. The old man asks them to place the materials in front of the tree so they can begin. As they take their time, he urges the children to hurry, and the mushroom notices that he is much more energetic now. With the materials in place, they are to pray to the tree for assistance, and then return the next day for the results. The children place the snail shells in the pot, then they begin their prayers. The tree's leaves start to shine brightly. Soon, some of them begin to fall around the area. The old man notices that one of them at the back still hasn't started the ritual. That someone is the mushroom, who is just watching. The old man told him to put the ingredients in the pot quickly, stating he would not repeat himself. The mushroom asked if he could use other things, as he had items more valuable than snail shells. But the old man insisted he needed those items and asked if he was there just to cause trouble. The mushroom began pulling on the piglet's ears. This made them step back. The old man now seemed like a completely different person, but the mushroom didn't understand why the snail shells were so important. The system popped up with an error message indicating the previous mission had failed, and now he had a new one. Seeing the message, the small mushroom became pensive. He didn't want the system to appear now because he was already in trouble. The old man noticed it was the monster's language. This made him walk up to the little one. Humans cannot hear that language, so he told the mushroom to reveal who he really was. But the mushroom was distracted by the system screen. Then he realized the old man had said something about the monster's language, but the old man had already disappeared. He was puzzled for a moment, but soon understood what was happening. That old man was ready to take him down. The system screen started glowing intensely. The small mushroom had to close his eyes as the brightness was blinding. Soon, there was an intense, mysterious light. The old man's staff struck the ground, partially cracking it. But the mysterious figure speaking the monster's language was no longer there. Seeing this, he was thoughtful about the disappearance. The system warned them they were in the penalty space. Thus, the mushroom and the piglet fell onto a platform. After the initial impact, he began to recover. He had no idea where he could be since the last thing he saw was the old man. Seeing the message, he wanted to know why he had received a penalty for not completing the mission. Because of this, he now had to jump 10,000 platforms within the time limit or he would be penalized with death. The time limit to complete the task was 1 hour. This terrified him as the system had never mentioned such a penalty before. Even so, wished the player luck as the time was already ticking. Desperate, he pleaded with the system to talk to him again as he couldn't do something like this. He felt the system was a scam and now he didn't know what to do. Now he had no choice. Either he completed the mission or he would die. According to the time, he needed to jump 3 platforms per second. There was no time to waste. Talking to the piglet, he urged her to hurry as there was no time to lose. Using his charge, he might manage to jump more than one at a time. He focused his strength to jump. With a single leap, he managed to clear several platforms, but the piglet was left behind. He told her it wasn't time to play because their lives depended on it. She ran in circles for a moment. From above, he shouted again that there was no time to play. Her eyes shone scared. She couldn't jump that high. Even so, the piglet tried. He screamed desperately at her action. The mushroom had to jump as well. He leaped across several platforms. He carried his companion with all his strength, but he soon tired as he wasn't as strong as her. It was too exhausting and he needed to rest. There were 42 minutes left and he had jumped 1,170 platforms. But grabbing a potion, he said there was no time to rest. He immediately gained 50 stamina points. With the piglet on his head, he told her to hold on tightly. He jumped again. The jumps made his friend tremble with fear. In the middle of one of the jumps, she ended up sneezing to his despair. This caused him to lose momentum. He soon fell several platforms. He lost some health from the fall and realized he might die before completing the task. Looking down was dangerous. It seemed bottomless. He was lucky to land on a platform. Looking at the piglet, he said that was dangerous and that she should warn him about sneezes next time. Affectionately, she demonstrated that she would warn him, and he hoped she really would. Preparing to continue, he took a few more potions. Even so, he was terrified of the height. On his head, the piglet began to doze off. With just over 30 minutes left, he hadn't reached halfway yet. He drank a few more potions. Sweating from exhaustion, he was determined to complete the task. With 22 minutes remaining, he continued jumping platforms. Time kept passing, and from jumping so much, his charge skill leveled up, accelerating his progress. Even with the extra weight, this was helping to increase his charge level. With a single jump, he could now clear 10 platforms. With only 2 minutes left, he has just one last platform to overcome. The only problem is that the distance is too great for him to cross while carrying the piglet. So he tells her not to move as they can't afford any mistakes now. He is determined to pass this penalty. With all his strength and determination, he jumps. They are almost there, close to finally getting out of that place. Their bodies begin to rise, but there is still a long distance to go. Halfway through, they realize it's not going to work. They fall back onto the platform they were on. Despite his efforts, he didn't get anywhere near. Telling the piglet to hold on, he says they will try again. He plants his feet firmly on the platform. Then he asks the piglet to get ready as well. Courageously, he charges toward the platform once more. He tries multiple times, but none of his attempts are successful. Now just over a minute remains. The piglet is already anxious about this. After many failed attempts, he doesn't know how he'll manage. Without losing hope, he decides to try one more time. Once again, with determination, he positions himself on the platform. This time, he believes he can complete the mission. He will put all his strength into this attempt. The piglet is also focused. There's less than a minute left to try. She licks her companion to motivate him, but that ends up distracting him. The piglet then climbs down from her friend's head. The mushroom is puzzled by this, but the piglet nuzzles him. With courage in her eyes, she looks firmly at him. He understands what she wants to do and doesn't like it, but she looks warmly at him. Faced with the hardest choice of his life, he cries. He then walks to the edge of the platform. He gathers all his strength. This time, without the extra weight, he reaches the platform. There was no difficulty at all. Maybe it was the system's way of refining his skills, but the piglet wasn't with him for the final step. As it was his task, he asked the system if the piglet will be penalized. However, when the penalty is completed, that world will disappear, leaving only death. That was not what he wanted to hear. Only 42 seconds remain. From above, he looks at his faithful companion. Below him, she watches with concern. His look to her is one of apology. The mushroom is almost at the portal. Standing still, he observes the exit from that world. Finally, he gathers the courage to jump, but the small mushroom jumps downwards. With the impact, he loses 20 health points. The piglet is confused by his action. There's no way after everything they've been through that he would leave her behind there. The piglet is outraged by this. She pushes him while he trembles, feeling a swirl of complex emotions. Tears stream abundantly from his eyes. But after all this suffering, after being saved and having a loyal companion, he can't continue living knowing he abandoned her. Either they leave together, or there is no reason to keep trying. The piglet realizes her friend's decision. There's just one more step left. She feels a bit anxious, but if he wants to try, it's not her place to discourage him. The small mushroom trembles because this will be his most powerful jump. No mushroom in history has ever jumped like this. The two are already halfway up. The momentum keeps carrying them upward. There's just a little more distance to go, but there's no more energy pushing them further. The two begin to fall. He panics. The attempt didn't work. There are only 12 seconds left before it all ends. The piglet closes her eyes in fear. Time keeps ticking down. The small mushroom is also scared. The system alerts him that time is running out. Emotionally, he can't believe he's going to die in that place. Then he opens his eyes and remembers that he can do this. Just like that explosive mushroom propelled itself forward. Even with little time left, he has an idea. There are only 5 seconds left to try. With his hands, he grabs the piglet's paws. Now all that's left is pure determination. He uses all his strength for this, and releases a powerful spore explosion. Time is running out, but he is rising. They need to keep going up. The spore cloud lifts them higher. This is now the spore jet. With only 1 second remaining, he is almost at the exit. The piglet's body crosses the portal as time hits 0. The system finally congratulates him for completing the penalty. After passing through the portal, they fall into a new place. The mushroom got hurt as the piglet fell on his head. Looking back, she was very happy with what had happened. He doesn't know how to handle her optimism as he almost died just seconds ago, and she's already smiling. The sky is illuminated and they observe the figure of the tree. Angry, the mushroom wants to know if, after completing the penalty, he is now free to do whatever he wants. Even though only an hour has passed, it's already nighttime. With no one to interrupt them, it's time for them to perform the class change ritual. But the scene makes the piglet stare at him paralyzed. She was completely captivated by his words. Back then, she interpreted things more intensely, believing they would live together forever. Looking back, he asks what's wrong and urges his friend. The piglet looks at him full of love. She runs to him full of joy. According to what the old man said, those ingredients are necessary. He just doesn't understand the connection between the items and the class change or how it will make him a brave. In one of the pots, there's a shell. A green dot falls into it and is absorbed. Seeing this makes him think for a moment, and after some thought, he finally understands. He takes the mushroom shell out of the pot. With the pot empty, he tosses it aside. He does the same with another one that was full, discarding it after emptying its contents. He finally finishes, believing this is necessary for his super class change. Even though he didn't bring anything, he doesn't think taking material from others will hinder him. He joins his hands and begins his prayers. Saying out loud, he asks the divine tree to help him change classes. Slowly opening his eyes, he looks to the side. Nothing had happened yet. This makes him question if his method is correct. Perhaps he needs to clear his heart like in the dramas. He repeats his mantra once again to the divine tree. Still, nothing happens to him. On his third attempt, he tries adding some magical words he made up, and once again, nothing happens to him. Not knowing what to do, he prays with various unusual words. After many attempts, everything remains the same. In front of him, the tree is still the same. Now he's wondering if monsters truly aren't meant to have a class change. The system appears, reminding him it warned him and recommended he give up. To him, this appearance only serves to provoke him. He's come this far and refuses to give up. He will find a way no matter what it costs. There must be a way, he thinks. It can't be that there isn't one. He shouts, asking for silence as he's trying to think. The piglet hops around calmly. While jumping, she's eating the glowing dots. The mushroom asks her to avoid eating everything she sees, but the piglet ends up leveling up. This surprises him as it seems completely impossible. Now he wants to know what that green energy coming from the tree is. One of them falls onto his head. Only then does he realize what happened. It granted him 50 experience points. He picks one up and uses his evaluation skill. It's condensed magical power, and since it comes from monsters, humans can't absorb it directly. He realizes that humans use mushroom shells as a transfer medium. The secret isn't the snail, but rather that condensed energy. Realizing this, he asks the piglet to leave some for him. They have only one goal, to eat as many as possible. They continue consuming the green energy. Their levels begin to rise rapidly. Soon, they have no more potions left. Even after absorbing a lot, his mobility is poor and he gets tired quickly. He suggests the piglet also take stamina potions so she doesn't get too tired. But she keeps eating the green orbs non-stop. Analyzing his friend, he is perplexed. The piglet is already at level 28. Knowing this leaves him feeling down as she's evolving faster than he is. It's hard to compete with someone who loves to eat so much. Being a mushroom is too disadvantageous. There must be a way for him to absorb all that energy. Curious, he calls his system. Appearing, it says that monsters cannot change classes, but he wants to know if there's something in his inventory that could be useful. He's at level 27, and there's nothing unusual there. Looking at his skills, he begins to think. His eyes focus on his skills window. Decomposition is ready to be used. He looks at the divine tree. Since he's already there, he has nothing to lose. He plants his feet firmly on the ground. Then he jumps with all his strength. To go even higher, he uses the spore jet. Once at the top, he performs a beautiful maneuver, landing perfectly on the head of the sculpture. The piglet looks up at him from the ground, worried. She's very concerned about him being in such a high place. He reassures her, telling her to just sit and watch. The piglet complies, paying close attention. The small mushroom closes his eyes. Placing his backside against the tree, he apologizes for what he's about to do. His decomposition ability is activated. Power begins to emanate from him. Since the tree is organic material, his potential is amplified. The mushroom's backside shines intensely. All of his strength is focused on the decomposition. The piglet watches him apprehensive. Using all his might, the mushroom shouts. The system warns that this much energy could cause unknown changes, but he has come too far to back down now. He is determined to absorb everything. The longer it goes on, the more his level increases and his skill is perfected. Small green orbs fall from the leaves, but instead of scattering, they return to their source. Now the magic isn't being released anymore. It's being completely absorbed, flowing directly into the mushroom. Soon, the leaves begin to wilt, until the branches also start to wither. Despite the warnings, he asks for the absorption to continue. Down below, the piglet remains worried. Faced with all this power, the mushroom cries out. The magic passes through the figure of the tree, and even it begins to age. With its magic being drained, the entire tree is drying out. The small mushroom perseveres with the decomposition. It demands his full dedication. The decomposition is complete and part of his anatomy is pulsating. There's so much energy that he has to hold it with all his might to digest it all. Using enough force to cause some painful strain, he continues. The piglet's concern for her friend keeps growing. A small flower begins to bloom slowly. The mushroom feels that even though he's trying his hardest, it's starting to emerge. Now the piglet is anxious. There's so much energy that it can't be contained. As expected, the flower blooms completely. During the process, the mushroom screams in agony. Countless rays of power start shooting out of him. This is definitely not a painless process. The mushroom now shines with intense magical light. The rays of magic bounce off objects and are deflected. On the ground, the piglet watches them carefully, until one of them targets her. The poor piglet is hit by the energy ray. It sends her flying away. Despite all the noise and tremors, the old man remains asleep. He just rolls over to keep snoring deeply. But on the wall of his room, a rune is glowing. The seal of Golem's left hand is losing its power. The magic energy ray keeps deflecting until the energy spreads through the air. In the sky, it can be seen as a shooting star. It passes through the starting forest and even over the heads of the pigs, causing their leader to look back. Two mushrooms carry the king's legacy. A strong impact occurs near them. The energy ray passes through the time castle. A doll in the ground lights up with its glow. In the submerged world is also visible. Deep in the ocean, there is a seal. And from the ocean depths, a beast roars ferociously. The waves become more violent. In the Pentachrome Desert, it is also seen. Some hooded men watch it. At the source volcano, the star catches the attention of the guild leaders. Even in the land of the dead, countless sinister eyes observe it. The eyes are numerous in the land. That night, countless of these stars were seen all over the world. Finally, morning arrives. A little bird looks at the beetle that drifted by. It decides to leave its perch to approach it. It was at the village chief's house. In the Divine Tree's hall, many things are destroyed. Someone slowly begins to open their eyes. They see a bookshelf filled with books. Then a confusing screen starts to appear. A notification emerges announcing that an update is in progress. A total of 5 million experience points have been consumed. The system congratulates him as the player has now become a brave. Still groggy, the mushroom wants to know if he really succeeded. Then he realizes it worked and now he can become a brave. Reading the system's message, he immediately accepts it. As soon as he accepts, his vision changes. He feels a different sensation in his hand. On the system screen, he sees a different reflection. Now he has a pair of human hands. He raises them to his face. After all this, he has finally returned to being human. This is so unusual that he hopes it isn't a dream. Looking down, he notices even more interesting things. His eyes shine with joy. It was the only mushroom he needed. He had it on his body again. Realizing all of this, he shouts with happiness. Now he just needs to find out where the piglet is. Trying to stand up, he finds it strange having been a mushroom for so long. One of his hands touches something soft. He pets the plush snout with his fingers. With his hand flat, he feels the piglet's head moving from side to side. Then he realizes there seem to be two heads. Now he looks down, curious. The sight next to him is what he thought was the piglet. This sight makes his whole being freeze. A nosebleed takes over the small mushroom. He has no idea who this woman is. This is the mushroom police detecting an inappropriate situation here. Censorship is necessary at this point in the story. A word of advice: mistakes are temporary, but regret is eternal. There was a woman completely at ease beside him. He must be hallucinating because he has returned to being human. Then he remembers that the piglet was hit by the ray. Finally, she begins to wake up. He tries to apologize to her, saying he didn't see anything. But she jumps toward him, calling him the mushroom. It's not the reaction he expected. Two large, soft, and sweet piglets move toward his face. She hugs him with great joy. On the other hand, the two piglets merely give him a heart attack. There's no doubt, this is definitely the piglet. The two piglets press against his face. Embarrassed, he pushes the piglet away. His friend is so innocent, he can't take advantage of the situation and still think of himself as human. She hugs him again, saying he smells nice, much to his surprise. Outside, they hear people commenting about the meteor shower from the previous night. He senses people outside the house. Whether monster or human, seeing the destruction in him, there could be a problem. He looks at the piglet to call her, but he can't keep looking for long. He immediately opens his inventory. Now he has a cloak to cover himself. Thankfully, he has these clothes, so they don't appear indecent. Smelling his clothes, the piglet is delighted. While he thinks about how to deal with the people, his only option is to use the spore explosion and escape amidst the chaos. Since the place is large, he needs to use all his strength. His hands and feet start to contract with all his effort. After all this effort, he uses his spore explosion. All he releases is a weak puff. Nothing more than that happens. The piglet looks at him, curious about what happened. He has no idea what's wrong with his abilities. Pushing the piglet away, he says it's not the time to play, as he will try again. Clenching his teeth, he tries even harder. Again, all he produces is a weak puff. Alarmed, he thinks he has lost his abilities. This prompts him to call the system again. Since his body has changed, he needs to learn how to use his abilities again. To do this, the system suggests he complete missions, the first being to eliminate 10 level 20 monsters. This frustrates him because all the system does is give him missions. Acknowledging that they might have gotten off on the wrong foot, it asks the player to assign a name to himself. Of all the unexpected things, this is definitely one of them. He didn't imagine he'd have to create a name. Frustrated, he says the system is doing this on purpose and that there are people outside. He complains that it only asks for money, but the system says it has never received money from him. Calming down, he realizes it's better to trust himself. The name he chooses is Duo. Agreeing, all he wants now is to check his inventory. There must be something useful there. There's only food and potions, but there is something special. The system advises him to be kind because, as a human now, he has emotions and feelings. In his hands is the teleport scroll. If it works, they could reach the fountain in the city center. Even though he has doubts about being entirely human, as he doesn't quite feel that way. He hears the same words the old man usually says about oversleeping and being late. He's not sure it will work, but he has no other choice. Consuming 20 mana points, he uses the scroll. Gradually, the magic circle begins to form beneath his feet. He needs this to work this time. The old man is getting closer and closer. The piglet speaks to him for no particular reason. This time, the magic circle continues to glow. The old man is almost entering the hall of the divine tree, and the mushroom and the piglet are still there. He enters and starts explaining to the children about the materials. The mushroom's face shines with a bluish light, and the old man looks at the hall, completely surprised. Everything is completely overturned. There are broken objects all over the floor. The place is a mess, even though the village chief is one of the strongest in the region. The boy mentions that a bright flash was seen from there the previous night. The old man strikes his staff firmly on the ground. He explains that because there were fewer people at the ceremony, the tree's energy was too dense and caused the mess. He then asks them to follow him to the tree. He's done this for many years and it's nothing serious. Even if something happens, he can remedy it. Only then does he realize that something is wrong. This leaves him shocked by what has happened. The divine tree is completely dried up. Even the children are surprised, because the divine tree now looks elderly, and all its branches are dry and leafless. So the video ends here. If you don't want to miss the next part, activate the notification bell, and see you next time on Tab's channel.